Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check out the description for more awesome content and my playlist. The author of the story MullinLiam from Wattpad. So let's start the video. Izuku's POV shortly after leaving 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘's office. Inko, Melissa, myself and Eri are escorted to our new home. A 3-story home with a large kitchen, pantry, its own miniature library, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms and a few empty rooms of undecided nature. We head inside as Lionheart exits the pocket dimension to find his room. Eri chooses to stay in my room as Melissa and Inko each choose theirs. We take time unpacking my room and putting things in our respective dressers before having dinner. Afterwards, Mom went off to give Eri a bath and Melissa winked at me while blushing. Hee. Remember the deal, Izu? My face blushed. I got up, walked and helped her off the couch. Yep, I remember now. Let's get this over with before Mom finishes Eri's bath as we don't have much time. Just bathing each other. Deal. Melissa smiled. Deal. Don't want to worry the unicorn. Weeks later, as I imagined, I was already able to mstr my standard strength. I started to work on shining mode. Melissa had come along rather well. She now seems to be of a healthier appearance than when I first found her. As well, she has learned a few neat spells. For the most part for now, she has focused only on defense and support magic. Namuri has been to the house a lot these past couple weeks to help teach Eri. We don't know how long it will be before she's up to a standard level of education for her age nor speech level either. 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 and I have been talking as well. She is trying to learn better ways to use and focus her power. Due to it being vitality-based, it's difficult for her to control and train. Aizawa has kept vigil as was agreed by 𝗧𝗎𝗓 and Dagoya. I've mastered a few new abilities for Blood Rage that should make it easier to learn the rest of my power set. As we were heading back from the beach today, though, we ran into a girl being chased down an alley. She was screaming for help as several men were chasing her. We caught up in time to see a girl who appeared to be my age or so. She was a bit on the plump side with brunette hair in a bob cut. She had a permanent blush on her face as well. Melissa sighed. Why is it you always find girls in trouble? I looked at her and shrugged. Would you rather I have not found you? She grummed and said, No. Never mind. We should probably help her. I chuckled at that as I summoned my swords and walked up to the men. Hello, my good sirs, I have a question. Why are so many grown men chasing a teenage girl through the streets? The first man with a bear cork roared and told us to F off, you stupid fool. She's ours to do with as we please. We saw her first. I quirked a brow. Leaned sideways. Hey cute girl. Are you theirs or was this just as creepy as it sounded? She shook her head, so I looked back at him again. Okay creep. I'll ask again. Nicely. What's the deal here? A second man spoke up. Her parents failed to pay up their loan in time, so she belongs to us now. I turn to Melissa as she giggles and casts a barrier around the girl. Turning around, I smile at them. Oh, how fortunate. See, I can easily pay the parents' loan off for them. If I do so, would you be willing to let her go? They began chuckling as I smiled like a devil. Thought so. I hope you guys have good insurance. The bear man roared and swiped his massive claws at me as I stood there not moving. Soon as his claws hit and slashed into me, I laughed. Oh, thank you. I've been itchy for a while now. Can you get just behind my shoulder blade on my right side? What are you all staring at? They all backed up a step as I began charging my blades. Sigh. Well, not very communicative, are we? Oh well. I slashed horizontally, caused the beam to hit all 4 of them, blasting them into the wall, taking all 4 down in a blink. Smiling, I nodded to Melissa as she dropped the barrier and I sent my swords back to the pocket dimension. The girl dropped to her knees crying. I heard Melissa sigh. I know. Go console the girl. I'll call Aizawa and Tsukachi and explain the situation. I groaned. Why does it always have to be me? I slowly approached the girl, asking her if she was all right. Why, it thought I was a goner. I smiled as I knelt down in front of her. She looked closer at me before she opened her eyes wide. You're the sludge boy. I looked confused and looked down, not seeing any sludge before I remembered. Well, Izuku Midoriya is my name. Not sludge boy. She started to sweat drop. Yeah, sorry. I'm 𝗏𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 by the way. Nice to meet ya. Well, sorta. I smiled. Well, Miss 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘, would you perhaps need Melissa and I to take you home? She scowled. I don't think I should go home. My parents put me up as collateral for their loan shark. Melissa sighed. Then why don't we take you to talk with a friend of Sludge Boy here on the police force? She shook her head. I groaned. Well, do you have anyone you can stay with for at least a few days that can watch over you? Again she shook her head. Melissa, it seems we are at an impasse here, huh? She sighed. Yeah. Told you this was bound to happen again. I groaned. As I told you, this stuff is not my fault. Miss 𝗏𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘, would you be willing to accompany us to UA? She tilted her head at that. Why there? I looked to Melissa and she grumbled. Fine. But you have to explain to the next one you're bound to find. Melissa did her best to explain the situation as I sent a text to Tsukachi explaining the 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 situation. I could feel his judgment as he replied. I blushed and growled at the phone before I put it back in my pocket. Oh, shall we? 𝗏𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 and Melissa agreed, and I decided to just save time, use shining mode, and flew us there as 𝗏𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 held on scared. We landed at UA and Melissa just went home, leaving me standing there with a terrified 𝗏𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 wrapped around my torso. Sigh. Well, I guess I'll do the walking and talking, I said as I walked to 𝗧𝗎𝗪's office, hearing him cackle wildly before he let us in. One short explanation later, he decided to have 𝗏𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 stay with us for the time being. I sweat dropped as he cackled. Great, now to deal with this. I'm so screwed. He also told us to stop by 𝗏𝗎𝗪's and have her head there too, as it was time for 𝗬𝗧𝗓's lessons. I feel like you're doing this on purpose, 𝗧𝗎𝗪, I said as we left for more cackling to ensue. Is he always like that? Asked Achiko as I groaned. Always. His favorite thing to do is mess with people. Apparently it's how he handles stress. Wouldn't know. I'm more the hold it in and develop massive psychological trauma until go insane type. I say as she looks wide-eyed and freezes. That was sarcasm, Miss 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘. She nods slowly. I got that. What's with the 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 licking her lips at you? Feels kinda weird. I sigh, not realizing 𝗏𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 was behind me. Hello, 𝗏𝗎𝗪chan. It's time for 𝗬𝗧's lesson. She looks at me and then back to 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘. Oh boy. Did you find 𝗬𝗧 another mama? I just turn around and begin to walk as 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 is a blushing mess. Just for that, Miss Midnight, no 𝗬𝗧 cuddles for 4 days. I say as I grab 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏's shoulder. She is teasing you. That's how she acts as Midnight. Like 𝗧𝗎𝗪, she too enjoys messing with people. In much worse ways though. Anyway, we should get to the house so you can meet the rest of the inhabitants. Also, fair warning, one is a giant. Don't freak out when you meet him. Though I do hope Melissa spoke to Mom and Lionheart to prevent teasing. 𝗏𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 rushed up pouting. You weren't serious about no 𝗬𝗧 cuddles, were you? Come on, that's cruel and unusual. Punishment, Izuku. I sigh before answering. Maybe. Help keep them from teasing Miss 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 and I'll allow the 𝗬𝗧 cuddles. Otherwise no. 𝗏𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 smiles. So Miss 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏, how, pray tell, did you two meet? 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 explained and 𝗏𝗎𝗪𝗧𝗏 looked at me grumbling. I swear you planned that just so I couldn't tease you, didn't you? I smiled. Now let's go. I say as we walk a bit faster. As we get close, 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 freezes and starts to wobble. Izuku. I think she's broken. I looked at her and grumbled as I hoisted her on my shoulder. Not a word. We made it home and had the introductions. Thankfully with no teasing. 𝗬𝗧𝗪, though, in her standard innocent way said, "Wow, she pretty too, just like Mama Melissa and Mama 𝗏𝗎𝗪𝗏." I just walked over, patted her on the head before seeing the stunned look on 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏's face as I began the standard explanation. Once she understood, I showed her to a guest room and where the bathrooms and stuff were, and Mom had brought her some clothes that should fit her. Then went to my room and promptly said "if you to dealing with any more stuff today," and went to sleep. Weeks later, Melissa and 𝗧𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 both train at the beach as I finished my strength control training with shining mode, and Melissa learned a larger variety of spells, had began adding some offensive ones to her arsenal. Luckily my head start with standard control helped me MSTR it early. Then we were contacted with Nana Shimura's gravesite. I went to the place with Ochako and Melissa in tow. We found it relatively easily. The girls looked a bit pale as I dug her up, but, after doing so, I opened the coffin and immediately shut it before they saw. "How bad is it, Izuku?" asked Ochako. "Don't ask. Melissa, our mom and Eri on the way." She nodded slowly, saying, "Yeah, with Aizawa and Nemuri as guards. Great. Now all we have to do is drag the coffin over to the beach, and when they get here contact 𝗧𝗧𝗟 and have him warp us there again." Ochako giggled. "Hopefully he doesn't make Nemuri faint," she said as we both deadpan. "You are the only one who met him who fainted, Ochako," we said in unison. I was scared and my brain said, "Nah, if this all right." We laughed as we waited for them to arrive. "So, we taking Aizawa there with us or not?" I heard Melissa ask. I grinned. "Do you see Aizawa handling that well? Heck, he was paler than normal for a week after just seeing the hologram of 𝗧𝗧𝗟." They giggled as Mom, Eri, Nemuri, and Aizawa showed up. "Good point, Izuku," said Ochako as we waved them over. Aizawa in his stupidity asked to open the coffin. I smiled. "Help yourself, Justice Hobo. We will step back and let you see her." Everyone but Aizawa backed off a few steps. "Problem child, my name is not, oh that's why." "Excuse me," he started to say as he opened the coffin, slamming it shut once he saw the contents and walking to the sea and promptly vomited. "Why did you let me see that, problem child?" I smiled. "You asked to open it. I figured saying Justice Hobo was enough to make you decide against it. Apparently it was not. Now we gotta go meet 𝗧𝗧𝗟. You coming?" He pales at the question. No thanks, Midoriya. I'll leave that to you all." I laughed. Then Nemuri asked a very important question. After he brings her back, how long before Eri calls her mama and asks about her chest pillows? I blushed. "Eri, please don't do either of those things. She would be grandma, and just like with Nemuri, Melissa, and Ochako, it's not nice to talk about the ugh." I trailed off as the girls blushed and Aizawa pretended to be watching the sea. "Chest pillows, Eri. So let's avoid either of those with her," said my mom as I contacted 𝗧𝗧𝗟. After warping to 𝗧𝗧𝗟, we spent about 5 minutes introducing Nemuri, who promptly lost her mind and fainted. As much weird CRP as she has seen, I figured she wouldn't react like Ochako did. I said as we sat her up and waited for her to come around. Once she was awake and settled down, 𝗧𝗧𝗟 walked to the coffin and placed his hand on it. Nana's POV, I woke up with a shot and immediately regretted it, as I bashed my head off something wooden. Ouch, son of a beach. I blinked as I was confused. The last thing I remember was being left to die by AFO as he walked away with me bleeding out. All alone. Scared for my son and daughter and started to tear up. Before I knew anything, I heard a knock. Inko's POV, I knocked on the coffin after I had something thump into it from the inside. It took a moment before I heard my mother's voice respond. Hello. Who is there and where am I?" I smiled brightly before Eri spoke up. "It's us, Grandma Nana." I sweat dropped at the simple explanation. "Mother, it's your daughter Inko," I said as the coffin began to open slowly. As it did, I saw my mother's teary eyes. "Inko. But how? Why, you're much older than I remember." Then she looked around the room, seeing the girls, then Eri. Finally Izuku and 𝗧𝗧𝗟. Before shutting the lid. "I'm still dead, aren't I?" I sigh at her query. "𝗧𝗧𝗟, can you help her?" He laughed. Before snapping his fingers as he inserted the memories of myself, Izuku and himself into her head. Holy hell. Did that all really happen? She bellowed from inside. Before kicking the lid off the coffin. "I have grandbabies. One has ungodly gifted power and one is cute as a button wrapped in clouds." I laughed at her antics as she tackle-hugged Izuku as Eri watched before pouting. "Eri want grandma hugs too." As she reached her arms out. Mom smiled at her. "Then get ready, Eri, for lots of grandma hugs," she said as she hugged Eri, who cuddled up, squeezing her. Grandma Inko and Grandma Nana give Eri good hugs. But Papa's best. Though he doesn't have chest pillows. We all sweat drop and facepalm as Mom laughs hard. Before looking at me and then Izuku, who told her melons are called chest pillows. with a twitching raised brow. I sighed. That's what she called them since first time she saw 𝗫𝗎𝗓. Apparently she hadn't seen a grown woman from age 1 till 5. Of course Izuku and 𝗫𝗎𝗓 didn't help the situation. I teased as the three girls and Izuku all blushed. Izuku looked at me as if he were wounded. Hey, I never called them chest pillows. I smiled mischievously before saying, true, but you did kind of pass out on them after saving 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. Hence chest pillows. Izuku and 𝗫𝗎𝗓 turned beet red as Mom laughed hard. After about an hour 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟 got serious. Human Nana Shimura. We need your aid. It's about your successor. Nana looked on worried. Oh no. Did AFO kill Toshi? She asked and felt all the killer intent in the room. No, grandmother. But I may kill him for what he's done with your power and to me. 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟 explains all of but Might's misdeeds and crimes. Izuku's POV Nana was crying and begging to understand, but when it got to the part about me she erupted in full fury. How do we take him down, 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟? She said in freezing cold voice. 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟 smiled and motioned to I, who stepped forward. Simple. I kick his butt? Then you and I make him understand what a true hero is, and you either take back the power or we find a 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 Wait, what? She said as she looked around the room. I said, Melissa, you being quirkless would be a good candidate for OFA. You have went quirkless for 16 years, been tortured and weak. Even though you may act rude to others, me included, it's an act to protect yourself. You still harbor the soul of a hero deep within. Unlike me, who the power of OFA would be wasted on. You'd be the prime candidate, as it must be given to a quirkless or it will kill them. We may not have time to find another quirkless with the heart and soul of a true hero. There's no telling when AFO will attack again. Melissa froze before she started to cry as Mom, Namuri, and Ochako hugged her. I looked at Nana and continued speaking. During the fight, we needed the return of a legend to break his spirit and allow him to realize his failings as a hero and successor. Hence we brought you back, grandmother. You get to correct the one mistake you made and the world gets to see the fraud brought to the light. What do you say? She thinks on it for a moment. Very well, just don't kill him. He must face his crimes. I smiled. It's a deal, grandmother. She laughed. Hey, just call me Nana Lil Cinnamon Roll. Melissa chose this time to say something finally as I begged all known dai ties to warp me out of existence. Well, Nana, he is far from little, but a cinnamon roll he is. I turned into a strawberry as Mom, Nana, Namuri, and Ochako blushed. Eri just said, yeah, Papa is really tall and muscly. We reached a silent agreement. Why, yes, Eri. That's exactly what Melissa meant, said Nana with a hug and a wink. Sorry, Izuku, but I'm stealing as many hugs as I can. I laughed as I said, well, who can blame you? To everyone else alive not named Eri, she gives the best hugs. I smile as I look around the room. Well, we'd better get back. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟, can you warp us all to the house so we can get prepared? He smiled at us. Very well, human Izuku Shimura. I think it's past time 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 met the wrath of the Shimuras, beat him to the ground, young one. We smiled as he warped us away. Nana was amazed at our place as we explained where we were living. I messaged Nizu that it was time and to bring all the staff to the house so we can show that Nana Shimura has returned. Oh, and Nana, I forgot to introduce you to the mentor of myself, Melissa and Ochako. As Lionheart entered the room. W.O. He's freaking huge. She said, stopping herself from cussing in front of Snowball. She and Lionheart both blushing. Well, yeah, but enough about what she said. It's nice to meet you, Nana Shimura, grandmother of my successor. He said, causing everyone to laugh hard. Eri did too, as she misunderstood the meaning. Our time skip. We had called a press conference and told the world of all Might's sins. Most didn't believe until we showed the videos showing everything he did. Luckily, Eri was kept away from the conference and watching cartoons with Lionheart. After an hour of showing everything he did, there were warrants out for his arrest, but no one was willing to do anything before I stood up. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘. Meet me, Izuku Shimura, at your MSDR's grave. It's time I fix my grandmother's mistake. Try me, hero, and find you have no power. But Might's POV, I was enraged. The quirkless freak showed the real me to the world and then had the ball to challenge me. Lying about being my MSDR's grandson. How dare that effer do that? I'll kill his butt. Luckily, I still had my hero form for the day. I rushed to Dagobah Beach only to find that bratted giant and Nana glaring at me. MSDR. You're alive, I said teary-eyed. Yes, I am, and Toshi. You done F up. Time to pay for what you did to this world and most importantly, to my grandson Izuku Shimura. 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘. Before I knew what happened, I took a massively powerful blow to the face, sending me flying several hundred meters back. What thef? Izuku's PV, look around but Might. We have cameras everywhere filming your destruction. It's time you gave that power to one deserving of it. Instead of a cowardly RPST and murderer who forgot he too was quirkless until my grandmother took pity on him. Are you ready, weakling? I said with venom, and he roared and charged at me with a full-powered Detroit smash. I didn't even flinch. Is that it? Is that the limit of your ability to use OFA but Might? Is this the power of a hero or the power of a villain who poses as one? He roared and began firing off smash after smash. All while I laughed unmoving. How do my smashes not hurt you at all? I laughed as grandmother spoke. Simple, because you are too weak, villain. My grandson has earned true strength and been blessed by a godly being, whereas you tricked me with false heroic passion and used it to gain fame, money, and power. You can't hold a candle to a true hero, 𝗧𝗏𝗟𝗏𝗏. So best give up now. Tears formed in his eyes as he refused to lose. I'll kill your quirkless freak of a grandson, then kill you, Nana. He foolishly yelled as I grabbed his fists out of midair. I released a massive amount of killer intent. See, world, your hero lied to you. He is but a killer that is a power-mad, greedy, attention-seeking fool. Threaten me all you wish, I said as I broke his arms and hands. Threaten my family and you get divine retribution. Now hold tight, All Might, this may hurt. I said as I began to throw massive blows at him, leaving his body ragged and broken. I then healed him and continued to beat him down again and again and again as the world watched on in shock. Katsuki's POV, I couldn't believe it. That motherfucking Deku was Paragon's grandson. And he was wiping the floor with All Might. Why are people angry with how All Might treated those weakling quirkless? They don't matter to this world. Izuku's POV, I beat him and healed him for well past time for him to revert to his true form, showing he was nothing but a charlatan. Oh, I bet you're thinking if you were in your prime you'd win, right? Let's try that, I said as I healed his injury. Even at max of his true form he couldn't do much. How are you this strong, you quirkless freak? He asked, clearly tired. I charged up a beam attack and blasted him down. Still he couldn't match my power. Pathetic. Give that power to a real hero, someone you could never touch in any way. Say Melissa Shield. He blanched. The F does that dead 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 got to do with this? He bellowed. I laughed hard at that. You do know she is watching you, weakling. All Might opened his eyes at those words. What do you mean? Nana spoke. What do you think it means? God, for someone who graduated UA, your AF idiot 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗟𝗏. He snarled at us as I launched him up into the sky. He screamed the whole way up as I waited for him to fall down to almost hit ground before I slam a right cross into his face. She was not killed. Just born quirkless. Her daddy dearest, in an effort to hide his shame but unable to allow you to do as you did to so many before, imprisoned her. He tortured her. Now she lives at UA after I rescued her. She came to Japan in hopes to find her uncle Might to save her. How pathetic, her uncle Might was just as horrible as her father. So now, you have two choices: give her the quirk, or keep receiving a daily beatdown by me and Nana here. He instead chose to spit in my face. You stupid boy. Nana would never harm me, huh? Fool. I wiped my face off and looked at him with an evil smile. Let's test your theory. I threw him to Nana. He expected her to catch him, I suppose, but instead she began to beat his butt to the ground even further. I told you, 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗟𝗏, you're no longer her beloved successor. You are just the next villain to be defeated by her. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 laid in a broken heap on the sandy beach, crying from both the pain and the realization that not even his 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟 would spare him a moment's reprieve or pity him again. Fine. Here, take the DMN quirk. She could use it to do anything anyway. AFO is dead, so this quirk serves no purpose anymore. I laughed. So hard I laughed. He is not dead, dumbass. You never recovered the body of AFO after your fight with him. Until you see his corpse, then he is still alive. Besides, even if he was dead, this quirk would still serve a purpose. To give back to this world, to save others, and show the world that even a quirkless person could mean something. So enjoy the time in prison, no matter how short it is. As once the last of its embers burn away, you won't last long. You will waste away into nothingness, forgotten entirely before you die. Pathetic weak fool, I said as the cops came up with quirk-canceling cuffs and cuffed him before they dragged him away. I sighed, not feeling as great as I'd imagine I would have after beating him down. Well, at least now the world knows the truth of things. Now to see what else is in store. I say as I walk up to Nana and Lionheart. Are you two ready to go? They looked at me happily, smiling. Why not? Beats staring into water all day, grandson. I laughed at that as we took off to UA with just a sonic boom to signal our departure. Hopefully soon we can get Melissa ready enough to accept the power. 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 spout to get F up, so enjoy as Katsuki loses his F world. Izuku's POV. A couple months have passed since the arrest of All Might, and Melissa has become strong enough to use OFA. Ochako has become much stronger with her new limit of 6 tons as opposed to 3 in just a few months of training. She also learned how to select the amount of gravity reduced instead of all. Midnight and 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 have improved as well. Midnight can now produce more than just sleeping gas, and its effects vary, from tear gas to laughing gas and any in between. I also managed to make her gases work on women just as well as men. 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 has started to increase her stamina and the speed of her attacks and power. Even little Eri has now become far better at speech and more understanding of the basic schooling she has been taught. It may take longer for her to learn, but she was taught nothing from 1 to 5 years of age, so it's not her fault. Today, however, Mom got a call from Auntie Mitsuki. Her and Uncle Masaru had finally decided to get divorced. Well, Masaru decided. He has a year left to live, as was diagnosed with a form of cancer that his quirk had been causing him. He didn't want Mitsuki to suffer having to take care of him, which I get, but come on dude, she been your wife through thick and thin, homie. Mom offered to let her live with us, but she would need to learn some things about her beloved dog. I mean son. Sighing, I had to fly with Mom to the meeting spot, which meant Nana, Lionheart, Oka and Mel have to watch Eri. We agreed to meet with her and would explain everything Katsuki did through the years and show her the recordings that were from Aldra elementary and middle schools. We hadn't seen each other in a very long time, but she had seen the videos of me taking down the sludge villain and All Might. She was amazed at how a F jack to the nines, as she puts it, that I am. We landed at the spot and I went through explaining everything and showing the videos we have as evidence to F that doggy's life up hardcore style. Then the universe says F your day, you're my beach. Sigh, let me explain. See, Mitsuki, for all her rage mom qualities, deep down is the same as my mother. Albeit extremely deep, but I digress. Whatever the goddamn word is. Ahem, anyway, back to story. Mitsuki was crying and giving me a F bone-breaking hug. I know cause they F broke. Are we sure glycerin is her only quirk? As she's doing that, I see an evil gleam in Mom's eyes and immediately tell the universe I will F destroy it because Mom's got a plan and they tend to cause me endless torment. What are you thinking up now, Mom? She gives a sadistic laugh that puts Nizu to shame, and both me and Mitsuki feel our spines shatter and souls exit in terror before Mom forces them back inside us. 2 things I need to explain. First, Izuku. What? You've been crushing on your Aunt Mitsuki for years. 2, she felt the same way. Ipso facto, the destruction of Pomeranians starts now. Well, if you too, Mom, I told you that in confidence, and cue my brain self-immolating Inko. That was a secret, damn it. I blink as Mitsuki yelled that and look from one to the other. Wait, what? Before I pass out, proper response, I suppose. After waking back up with my head in Mitsuki's lap. Hella nice, by the way, please never tell her I said that. Or do I? Do not care. What a weird dream. I thought mom told you I had a crush on you and vice versa. She sighs. Nope, that's what happened, and 5 then you passed out Izuku. Oh come on, damn it universe, why does all this weird ishti have to happen to me? That might be my fault. Well, enjoy child Izuku Shimura. Well, that actually makes sense since it's Daigoya's fault. Wait, why is he doing this? Never mind, back to the wordy words of storiness. Oh good Izuku. Are you two ready to implement neuter the Pomeranian? Asks mom still with an evil look. Sigh like we have a choice. What's this great plan of yours? She giggled. To get you two married. Mitsuki and I blink at each other, then look at mom. What? Mom/Inko. Mom cackles. Well, we all know you two love each other. Mitsuki is divorced, so marrying you two would be like a massive kick to the nuts to Pomeranian. Then we start the trial of Dogboy. I look at Mitsuki. You know we're F if we don't do this right. Mitsuki blushes and nods. As mom adds in, oh, we will add Melissa, Ochako, Nemuri, and Nijire to the marriage as well. Oh, if Daigoya, I think I'm screwed. Like very screwed. Nah, you'll be fine. Plus there will be more members of your HR. I admit Earth culture is very exciting. Enjoy HR King Izuku. Oh come on, this is going to SCK. Lots. And lots. At least I'll have plenty of SCC, I guess. Damn it Izuku, stop perving out F, okay? It's obvious if we don't agree you're gonna make our lives hell. I groan out. Wait, so Izuku has 4 other girls already. Dimon, who knew he was such a lady killer. Giggles Mitsuki. I look at her, why are you so happy about that? Also, the only time did any SEC stuff with was Melissa, just not gone all the way, and why the F am I telling you this? I'm so screwed. Mitsuki laughs. No, but you will be. A lot from at minimum 5 CC ladies. Bright side it is. Well, I guess Eri can finally call the mama and be accurate, I suppose. Wait, does that mean the home will need remodeled? Sigh. I am AF idiot for a genius. Like seriously, why should I care if the home needs remodeled if I will have 5 wives that all scare the SHT out of me? So when are we doing this? I ask and mom cackles. Today. Like right now we go to Nizu and blammo a quintet of wives for my amazing son. Ooh, the amount of grandbabies I'll have. I look at Mitsuki. I think we just solved the answer to why she wants this. She has grandbaby fever, a disease that infects mothers when their sons reach 15 years of age or older to F up their sons' lives just to gain grandbabies. I've heard horror stories about if the son doesn't follow the plan, and since I am rather attached to my PP, I have no choice but to do as asked. Mitsuki cackles as I pick her up and me and mom fly to Nizu. Sigh, life is a motherfucking drag. Wait, one of the wives is already a mother. Oh, for F's sake, I'm a dumbass. So does this mean I can ground and punish Katsuki and he has to listen? Mom laughs like a madwoman. Maybe, but he's going to prison soon, so does it matter? I shake my head. Nope, but I'ma make the judge enforce some hilarious punishments on him. Though I think learning I'm married to his mom is a fitting punishment. I think I have an idea of an amazing punishment once he's arrested. Ha. Katsuki's POV: the hag called me after school. Been weird as F since her and that beta beach got divorced. She was all sad and mopey and but now she's happy as F, and maybe she started using weed. Don't care. I walk to the F address she gave me and, holy, it's you motherfucking. Wait, what? Why is the hag here and the F am I doing here? I wonder when some F hobo with dead eyes meets me at the gate and tells me to come with him to Nizu's office. Okay, Justice Hobo or whatever your F hero name is. Apparently this extra was annoyed as he glared at me. Okay, not half I'ma blow ya, but up I try to use my quirk and F all of nothing happens. What the F? The hobo gives the creepiest goddamn smile I ever saw, making my spine shiver. That's my quirk. I can erase yours. And since I am a pro hero and a teacher here, you done goofed, but well, if me sideways, this ain't good. Then the goddamn hobo slaps quirk canceling cuffs on me and drags me with his invincible scarf. He somehow moved with his F mind, which I kind of admit this dude is F terrifying. Not to me obviously, for I are strongest. But to extras he must seem unbeatable or SHT. We reach the office and the doors open. What the F? I ask as I see that quirkless freak Deku in a tux with 4 wares and the hag in wedding dresses. Akatsuki Bakugo, welcome to the start of the end of your hero career, villain. Some talking rat F thing says. Izuku's POV, haha, the look on his face when he sees us is goddamn hilarious. The F you mean, villain? I'm a motherfucking hero. Mitsuki and the other 4 women all grow tick marks and I sigh. No kiddo, you're AF egomaniacal psychopath who will be facing many years in prison for the SHT you did to Izuku Shimura, let alone all the other kids. Katsuki gets pissed, that you don't count as those F heirs are weak. I sigh, 𝗧𝗬𝗧𝗟𝗘, are you F retarded? Because by your logic I could bend you over this desk and RP you and it wouldn't be a crime since you're so pathetically weaker than me. That one broke everyone as they all was laughing like crazy as Katsuki blushed and yipped at me. Anyway, you're kinda ruining our wedding ceremony here, so shut the F up, little yapping puppy. Adopting a look of utter rage and confusion, he barks some, the F you talking about, weak but quirkless freak Deku. I sigh before glaring at him. I beat the living F out of but might for 5 F hours using only 10% of my power, yet you are saying I am weak. There's no maybe anymore, girls, he's AF retarded puppy. Listen up, mutt. Your mother, Miss Midnight, Ochako Uraraka, Melissa Shield and one other of your victims who is now one of the big 3 thanks to our combined efforts, 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘, are all becoming my wives. Now someone clamp his mouth shut and let's get on with this. Haha, dude looked like he was shitting bricks. Before he could say anything, Eraserhead covered his mouth with his scarf. Anyway, we go through the wedding and holy hell, it was amazing kissing my 5 CC wives. Ochako had strawberry-flavored lips and felt like could make the earth itself float through space wherever she desires it to go. Even for her first kiss it was amazing. Melissa I've kissed a lot, but every time it's an amazing powerful surge of energy. 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 had never kissed anyone either and the experience was surprisingly good. Her lips were soft and as we kissed the familiar surge of energy flowing through me whenever I kissed someone was at max. It was as if we were both beings of unlimited energy coursing through the world. Following that was Nemuri, and holy F was she an amazing kisser. I think my brain exploded and rebuilt itself as that massive power surge tore its way through my body. It felt as if we were floating through an endless sea without a care or danger to be found. Then came the kiss I have been dreaming of since I first started noticing girls, hee. I felt as if the world vanished beneath us, sucking us into an endless abyss of darkness, and the powerful surge of energy created a blast of light, causing the creation of entire universes and worlds. After all that we looked to see a crying Katsuki. Haha, Dimon, look at that brat's face. Yelled Mitsuki. You know this technically makes me your daddy, right, dog boy? I said, chuckling. He tried to break out of the cuffs, but it just looked like a 2-year-old flailing angrily. It was goddamn hilarious. He especially cost Mitsuki and I are given permission to do the ultimate punishment on the Pomeranian, which surprisingly she agreed to do. See, the thing about being quiet during school meant people would say SHT they really shouldn't and not notice who was around to hear. Once I explained the entirety of why the punishment I chose was chosen, she cackled for about an hour before agreeing to do it. We dragged his butt to an improvised interrogation room. Only there would be 0 interrogating. He was sat down and his cuffs locked into the slot on the desk, meaning his but can't do SHT to stop what's gonna go down. There also was a viewing room for my 4 other wives so they could watch. Popcorn and other foods were prepared as well as drinks. I purposefully left all other people out because while it's a hella torturous thing, there's no physical violence about to happen. F that. The F you and that quirkless loving hag want now. Gonna F interrogate me and SHT. Well, I ain't got a F thing to say to you too. So F off. I laugh and Mitsuki smiled devilishly. Oh Katsuki, this is no interrogation. See, I happen to know you're sick as F greatest SXL fantasy. You really should never have said that SHT around me. Now my 4 other wives are watching, so please make the show enjoyable. I informed Mitsu of how you wanted to F her and my mother in front of your daddy and me. Well, how about we reverse that to a degree and I your new daddy F Mitsu in front of you. Oh, that must SCK seeing your former best friend and biggest victim F one of your greatest views of women, your own mother, you Oedipus complex having fuckered. Katsuki paled and had a green tinge to his cheeks. I never said that. I sigh as Mitsuki and I start undressing. Oi, shut up brat, you can't lie to us. I was sick as F when heard you had the hots for me and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Especially after watching everything you did to Izuku. Even when you told him to kill himself. Dozens of times you would talk about me sexually, and once you even masturbated in class to a pic of me in a swimsuit, you sick as F tiny PP having a Bakugo growls before roaring how he's way bigger. Thani chose this moment to pull my hard as steel massive PP out. And he blushed hard before he frothed at the mouth. Mitsuki was, well, let's say impressed, as she got so wet she leaked through her thong. She smiled. Goddamn, little Izu has a monster PP for his wives. As we hear Melissa chime in, I told you all his PP was F huge. She then took off her BR and thong and knelt in front of me before looking me in the eyes and saying, 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. As she began to lick my PP all over, coating it in saliva. She then squeezed her massive melons around my PP and pumped them on it as she sucked the top 3 inches. I was immediately and groaning from the immense pleasure my PP was receiving. Oh my god, please someone. F kill me. Just shoot me in the goddamn head. Fu Deku, she's mine. Yapped the Pomeranian. Noah, she is my wife. Ooh, F that's good Mitsu. She winked at me, and after a couple minutes she went from Melon's job to straight up deep-throating me like a goddamn champ. All 10 inches would be inhaled. Bakugo kept barking, but I was doing all I could to hold out as long as possible. Holy hell, Mitsu is AF legend. I heard the girls all shout. I felt my sperm ready to launch after 2 minutes of this. 𝗔𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘, Mitsu pulled back to just the tip and said, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in my mouth. Before going deep again. I couldn't hold any longer and launch massive amounts of cum deep down her throat. She swallowed 2 full times but still had 1 mouthful left. She kept it in as she pulled off my PP. She showed me, the girls, and Katsuki before we did what Nisa suggested. Open up, Katsuki. Your mommy has a gift for you. I said as I walk over to him and force his head still and his mouth open. Katsuki stated, crying as Mitsuki held her mouth a few inches over his and let the cum release into his mouth. After his mouth was full, I clamp it shut until he is forced to swallow it all. I hear my 4 other wives laughing their tips off, shouting things, and it roughly consisted of, that's F amazing. Holy SHT, that's funny as hell. Do it again. Make him clean your pages. Mitsuki heard the last one and smiled at me. Shall we do that before and after the next part? I laugh as Namuri says she got a text from Nizu saying to do what Mitsuki said. Well, we can't disappoint the principal now, can we? I say as I grin maliciously at a terry-fed Katsuki. First though, Katsuki, what was your opinion of my cum? Katsuki blushes and shouts it was horrible before Mitsuki laughs, saying, then why you blushing and lying? That is the very nectar of the gods, so delicious and sweet. I then look at her and say, well, we are following orders. Katsuki, time to clean daddy's pages. He blushes and panics. Now know this, Katsuki, if you bite down I will regenerate and you'll have to clean the BLD up too. So get to work, Beta Bottom Beach. He pales as Mitsuki grabs his head and forces it towards my PP. Growling and blushing, Katsuki gets to work and ends up gagging a few times, cleaning all the cum off. Cause he tried to inhale my huge PP just like mommy. Failed miserably at it. I then pull out once it's clean. And that was subpar for a 001 out of 100 at most. Now for the fun part. Impregnating Mitsuki, as puppy has to watch his greatest victim F his ideal goddess as he can't do anything. So Mitsu wanna go doggy as you lean against the table. She smiles, seems fitting considering it's the retarded dog's punishment. She leans against the table with that perfect but sticking out wagging at me. I smirk as I line up at her entrance. By the way, 2-inch man, this isn't the end. Once we finish you get to clean daddy's PP, then go to the police station with Detective Tsukachi as you'll be arrested. Hehe, enjoy the show, girls. As I pump into her wet tight pages. Oh F Izuku, you're so huge, yes. As I start pounding that wet PP a bit faster. Holy F, how are you so tight, Mitsu? She is loud as the girls are whooping and cheering. Hehe, what we didn't know was they was all rubbing their pussies too. Meanwhile, dog boy is begging me to stop F his mommy. Well, Masaru was very small. Oh Katsuki. I smile devilishly as I F her faster. I look at Katsuki. I'm never gonna stop. Oh F my wife. Mitsuki gets louder as she arches her back as I hold her up and fondle her tips when she squirts all over my pages. 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘. She shouts as she squirts and Katsuki vomits, realizing I just made his mommy dearest come after only 5 minutes. After recovering, she says, "Holy F, this PP is amazing. I've never come from being F before without rubbing my silty as my exes F me." I smile genuinely as we heard the 4 other wives suddenly have their own orgasms. "God dang, you made all 5 of us 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘," said Mitsu. I chuckle. Well, I was chosen by a godly being to be granted the powers of so far 11 of the most legendary heroes from various worlds, so yes, seems fitting. Mitsu chuckles. Well then, let's put them to use, and you F me till you put some legendary seed in my WMB. I want to try having an actual decent baby for once, she says as Katsuki cries like a beach. I start up even faster than before, saying, "Oh, quit crying, villainous bitch boy 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘." He cries even harder, but I do not give a F as I'm in heaven, F a goddess. After 15 minutes and Mitsuki climaxing 2 more times, I feel I'm about to burst, "bout to come OF," as Mitsuki says to come deep in her. I pump 2 more times, and when I'm all the way in, I unleash a massive load as she comes yet again. "The 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘 Izuku," she shouts as she splashes her own orgasm on my huge pages. The 4 other wives all having come twice. After we recovered and I pull out, we again make Katsuki clean my PP as he cries like wuss. "Just be glad we went easy on you, puppy. As Inko wanted you castrated and your own PP shoved up your butt with the hole cauterized shut," says Mitsuki as Katsuki finished cleaning my pages. We then get dressed and drag him off to Tsukachi. Ha, F that little doggy. Myself and my wives then head to the house and get freshened up. Tsukachi later that night sent us the list of crimes Katsuki was facing, with a grand total of at minimum 30 years in prison. We laughed our asses off as we get to the 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 bedroom, which has been vastly enlarged as the house was now 4 floors and the entire top floor was 2 rooms, a very large bathroom and a massive 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 bedroom with an enormous bed. I was actually surprised though that 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 had her parents' permission to marry me, which was amazing as we only met once or twice, but apparently they fell in love with me. So awesome. Ochako and Melissa, since technically were wards of UA, simply got permission from Nizu as he found it funny as F. Nimue and Mitsuki hit it off as friends instantly. Mitsuki even saw through the midnight act as she remembered me talk about her. "On second thought, Degoya F, thank you my liege. Wait, when you said more about how many more? I only hear cackling sent to me from him before. Don't worry about that. Get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be a long day for you." Yeah, that didn't worry me. As we woke up, I found myself under a pile of half-naked hot chicks and was surprisingly okay with that. Sighing, I woke them all up without meaning to as I unlocked my 6th power, said I gained incredibly powerful telekinesis and telepathy. We all got up and dressed as Nimue had to work. 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 had training to do with the big 3. Ochako and Melissa were studying, and I had to help Mitsuki move her stuff into the house, which went swimmingly. After getting her stuff moved in and Eri and her were spending the day together, my dumbass decided to go on a walk around town. Remember how Melissa says I always find girls in trouble? Well, if she was right. I was walking down a street and checked down the alley to find a slim punk rocker and what I describe as a FCC goddess of a princess with a spiky black ponytail stuck to some grape ball things and electricity arcing off them. Now thoroughly pissed right the F off, I draw my swords and head into the alley where a blonde-haired electricity user and a midget with grape ball for hair failed to notice my approach. He got the buxom babe we wanted. So what do we do with the flat-chested lesbo? The sparky one says with the grapist saying. While one of us F the big-titted one, the other can practice on the lesbo. They start to undo their pants, but before they could go any further, I stand behind them and fast as lightning I bring my blades to their throats. "Excuse me, gentlemen, but who the F do you two think you are? In case you hadn't known, Miss Kyokujiro and Miss Momo Yarozu are engaged to me. Now if you boys don't want to F die, I would suggest begging for mercy. Not that you'd get any from me. Just like but might didn't either." They turn to see me smiling at them with closed eyes. Apparently too terrifying for the grape as he pisses and shits himself before passing out. I sigh as I look at Sparky. "What's your decision, Denki Kaminari?" You prematurely gonna blow your load and get more retarded than usual. Oh well, go ahead. The F idiot does that. Like really? I'm F immune to all elements now. Sigh, terribly sorry for saying that we were engaged girls. Figure that would scare them. Now the One Pump Wonder and the Grapist are in for a rude awakening. First let me remove those balls from you and get you free. Sorry, I am not going to RP either of you. Oh well, that's easy, I am the strongest telekinetic and telepath in the universe. Yes, Miss 𝗔𝗫𝗧, I can read minds. I just got this power set so it's hard to control. I am very sorry for the mental intrusions. Once I have control, I should be able to hold it. Oh, why thanks you too, as I was very accurate with such a comment. I place my swords on the ball and I disintegrate them, leaving their clothing intact. Holy SHT dude, how broken are you? I laugh. Well, depends on the terms. If you mean overpowered, well, I possess so far 11 power sets. Each from one of the most legendary warriors across the universe. Why yes, Miss 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘, I am in fact the boy who beat the sludge villain and decimated All Might after proving his guilt to the world. My name is Izuku Shimura. A pleasure to meet the queen of punk and goddess of creation. I finish with an over-exaggerated bow. As the two girls both blush crimson. Oh whoa, slow down Miss 𝗔𝗫𝗧𝗏, please do not jump my bones. My wives may disagree with that. At least get to know them before doing that, hee. Oh hang on. I text 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 about what happened and he's on his way. A police detective friend of mine is on his way. Once we give our statements, I shall take you to the being who granted me these powers. He wishes to give you each a gift as an apology for what you two have gone through. Momo speaks up. So we're basically going to meet God. I chuckle. Well, while 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 is a god-level being, he's not the god in the Bible, so that's a yes/no. I say as I open my pocket dimension and hand them each some water to drink, and once they grab the bottles and touch hands, I heal them. Holy 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏. Did you just heal me? I smile and nod. Yeah, figured you would prefer not feeling the constant spasms after Sparky MC One Pump there zapped ya. Kyoka was impressed by the roasting and healing, and Momo was in awe at the powers I used. How long have you had all these powers? Momo asked. I smiled. Since the sludge villain killed me and 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 turned back time to rescue me and gave me the first 10. If you recall the battle with Overhaul, I gained the 11th after beating him, which allowed me to fully heal my now daughter Eri Shimura. As Overhaul had been torturing her for her build, both girls grimaced. How badly? Asks Kyoka. I frown. Kai Chisaki Ege Overhaul had the quirk Overhaul. He could completely disassemble and reassemble anything his hands touched. He effectively blew her up and returned her, killing and reviving her thousands of times. Her quirk Rewind can rewind anything biological to a previous state. He was using her BLD to make bullets to permanently erase quirks. Eri had S scars over N90% of her B body. So I was granted my healing abilities to repair her and remove them. They were horrified that anyone could do that to a little girl. I sighed. She was treated that way because the only people who knew about her were either Overhaul's men, dead, or in a coma. No one else knew about the child until Nizu one night saw her running through the streets. I had been having visions of her as well, and I was tasked with rescuing her. Which I did with a powerful vengeance. They were amazed at just how powerful my healing is. Dude, you sure this 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 didn't make you a god? I laughed. I'm sure. I am human, just insanely strong. Right now, only a couple dozen beings in this universe are more powerful than me, with a couple hundred able to go to a draw with me in combat. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 showed up and took the boys away and got our statements. We then head to 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏𝗏's vessel. The girls were very shocked to see 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏𝗏. He gets that a lot. I even told 2 of my wives who met him about him, and they still fainted when they saw him. 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏𝗏 chuckles. Well, let's see, for human Kyoka 𝗔𝗫𝗓𝗏 I have a special gift. A musical artifact that can turn into any instrument you longing. You could even plug your jacks into them and send the vibrations blasting out. Now for human Momo 𝗧𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 I have a special item. It has the molecular composition of every type of object in this universe. But since the book would weigh 15 tons, I have condensed it into this holographic dictionary. Effectively making you, as human Izuku Shimura stated, a goddess of creation. To say they were surprised was one hell of an understatement. But are we deserving of such gifts? Asked Momo. I chime in. Hey, if a god gifts you something, just take it and run. He in seriousness, yes. You both are on heroic paths, same as I. These would make you both top 10 worldwide. If 𝗔𝗫𝗧 learns that she is appealing and 𝗧𝗑 regardless of her body composition and stops being so down on herself, she'd be one hell of a badass siren. And if you Momo Yaoyorozu stop downplaying your abilities and gain confidence, then you truly become 𝗓𝗧𝗏. You both are appealing and 𝗧𝗑, yes, but neither of you are dumb, ugly, unfit for hero work, or in any way, shape, or form inferior to anyone. I can help with both of your issues. Just need to inform Melissa it happened again. She has a theory I have a hidden quirk for finding appealing girls in trouble. Personally, I think it's 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 having fun, but men no skin off my nose. Size 10 inches if you must know, Miss 𝗔𝗫𝗧. I'd really rather not drop true in front of 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 to prove that. 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏, we're going to the medical wing. Follow me, girls. I sigh as I trudge along to medical wing as the girls desperately need proof. 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 laughs loudly. Once inside, the girls blush at me. Okay, I will show you, but for the love of God, please keep your hands to yourselves. I have 5 wives and they scare me a hell of a lot more than you two do. I drop true and the girls nearly faint, both drooling. I then pull my pants back up. Happy now. 'Cause now I feel awkward. Anyway, we need to return to Earth. Oh, and 𝗔𝗫𝗧𝗏, I'll tell Nizu to allow you the use of that artifact during the exams. Let's go, girls. Also, you're still drooling. I laugh as they rub the drool away and follow me. I say farewells to 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 and take the girls back to Earth, and they get on their way. I walk for about an hour after having told Melissa what happened in her mind, confirming her theory. When for F's sake I see 3 girls surrounded by villains. Now I see why you said a long day. Is this the last of it, 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏? He mentally says maybe, which scares me. I sigh and walk up to the villains. Pardon me, good sirs, but can you give directions to how F you are? They turn and see me smiling, holding my swords. Realizing nope, we be F, they tried to run. I shot a few key blasts, knocking them all out. Then helped the girls. Toru Hagakure, Mina Ashido, and Tsuyu Azui were their names. I settle them down, explain things. Tsukachi comes, does all he does, and then take them to 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 too. Each receiving some gift in some fashion. Toru and Tsuyu both got their quirks enhanced, so Toru is visible and has an adaptive costume that will turn visible and invisible with her. Tsuyu is immune to the cold and has active camo to start with, but also is given an adaptation that will allow her to have a more expressive face. Mina is given what is effectively called an electro-accelerator gun that runs on her own body's acid and is supercharged with electricity to do some damage. We say peace out, homie, to 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 and head back to Earth. I've already figured out the plan from 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 why I always meet girls like this. They all have a link to me for some unforeseen reason, but each one has a big part to play in a battle far off from now. Back to walking around, I stop at Mom's last hospital she worked at to speak with a few of the patients I met. I see a girl with white and red hair crying and looking terrified. I ask her if she's okay and she recognizes me. You're the kid that thrashed All Might, right? I nod and she pulls me along to a room with a woman with white hair. These are Rei and Fuyumi Todoroki, wife and daughter of Endeavor, who I now thoroughly wish to kill. I explain things to them and open the window. So you two hotties feel like escaping Endeavor before I go beat the ST out of him? They blush and just nod. I smile at them. Good, hang on tight, it may be a bumpy flight. Confused until I grab each one by the waist and fly to UA. Scared I was gonna fall, they held on tight for a few seconds before realizing I can fly. What can't you do? Asked Rei. I laugh. I can't help but meet and rescue appealing and 𝗧𝗑 women. Hell, today alone it's been 7, including you two. They blush even more. I land at UA and take them to Nizu, once again confirming Melissa's theory until I pull her aside and explain the fact that this is all 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏's doing and that each person I rescue will play a part in a big battle in the future. She smirks and says, yeah, but do you gotta marry the 𝗧𝗑 ones for that to work? I sigh, 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏, there'd better not be any more today. I'm beat, man. I still have to go fight Endeavor. He said that was it for some time and I'm thanking him profusely. We take Rei and Fuyumi to the house and introduce them to everyone. I then tell everyone where I'm going and exit stage right. That was a lot of SHT to write. Good thing I never planned CRP out or I'd have made this really craptastic. 𝗔𝗚𝐽 pass out for like a year. Peace. Not long after I got the two 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘s to my home and introduced everyone, I left and flew to Endeavor's agency. I stood outside as I took a deep breath. Human Izuku Shimura allow me to televise this battle and majority of his sins to the entire world so they can see precisely why Endeavor is being beaten, says 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 in my mind. I smirk and nod as I hear the clicking sound of him activating the power. 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 aka False Hero Endeavor. I, Izuku Shimura, have been tasked for taking you down for your sins committed upon your wife Rei Himura and your children Toya, Fuyumi, Natsuo, and Shoto Todoroki, as well as the thousands of innocents you killed in your heroic duties in Jai. Step out and face your divine punishment, villain. I bellowed loud enough for the entire city block to hear. Soon I see a smirking flamer stomping out. Well, if it isn't the quirkless freak that gave me the #1 rank. Thanks for that, boy, but unlike that retarded golden-haired rabbit I'm too powerful for you to beat. Prepare for a quick death, boy. He barked out arrogantly as I smiled. Just before he tried to fight, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 used the power to show the entire world the battle as well as the majority of his crimes, causing Endeavor to bulk back in fear. How did you do this, boy? He snarled as I laughed loud and hard. Oh, that wasn't me who did that, flamer. That was the godly being who gave me my powers. He now face your punishment like a man, flame face. I said with a SHT-eating grin on my face. Endeavor roared his pathetic excuse for demps and launched his flames at me. I stood still, smiling the entire time. Just to F with him, I screamed in agony as if I was dying, until he stopped sending his flames. He turned around to walk off while smiling. Did I say you were free to leave, NG? I said as his flames dissipated, scaring the hulking RED. How are you still alive? He asked as he leapt while turning to face me. I'm immune to all elements, jackass. Including fire. Sigh, seriously, how the F are you a top 10 hero and not know this already? My current power sets were made known to all top 100 heroes in every country. Did you just not bother reading them, dumbass? I asked with a bored look on my face. NG began to sweat and look scared. No, that's not possible, he said as he powered up his quirk before I blitzed his butt and uppercut him into the sky. I flew up and snatched him by the throat. I am beyond the realms of what you think possible. I have been gifted 11 power sets of legendary warriors throughout the universe by a god-level being, dumbfuck. I perform the impossible by merely breathing. You ready to pay for your crimes, child? NG was panicking as I reared back and launched a powerful punch, stopping it a centimeter from his face as the air pressure sent him flying through the sky for miles. I warped in his path and slammed a powerful ki blast into him, nearly killing the BS. He crashed into the ground, a charred mess with both his arms and legs missing. I flew down and healed him as I smirked. Oh, the fun we're about to have, NG. I feel you deserve to spend the next 8 hours in a world of pain and misery, I said, charging elemental attacks and blasting them into him. As promised, for the next 8 hours I used all my powers on him, taking him to the brink of death only to heal him and continue the beating as the world watched all his crimes. It took 8 hours for the list to finally be finished being shown. Once the list of crimes finished, I used a powerful ki blast to his PP, completely destroying his 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 and cauterizing the wound before I landed beside him. Now that you've faced my punishment, I shall send you to 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 so you can face his wrath as well. Enjoy the trip, NG. I said as I sat down and took out my phone to chat with my wives and the 7 other women I saved today. After an hour, NG was returned a shriveled man, all his muscle gone. He was resembling but might and even made quirkless. I laughed as I thanked 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 before snatching NG and warping to my home. The 5 wives as well as Rei and Fuyumi were standing there wearing some special tools with which to make NG suffer what he forced Rei to suffer. I cackled as I winked to the girls. Well, NG, looks like you're in store for some world-shattering fun. Enjoy, ladies. I'm going to bed. NG is quirkless now, so no worries. Once you're done, I'll send him to the Tartarus warden. Oh, and could you stop the broadcast, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟, so no one has to see the very adult punishment 𝗛𝐺 shall suffer? 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 cackled as he cut the broadcast. I grabbed Eri from the couch, who was already asleep, and we went to the 𝗛𝐵𝗱 bedroom on the top floor and laid down to get some sleep. Hours later, 𝗛𝐺 was delivered to Tartarus as promised. He had his butt raped with massive dildos with spikes on them, so much that every step he took 𝗧𝗓𝗧 fell out. I laughed so hard when I had found him like that. After I returned, I took the two Himuras to meet Natsuo and Shoto. Rei was granted custody of Shoto and given the remaining estate. They thanked me profusely, and I smiled, stating I simply did as my personal heroic code demanded. They needed help and I had the power to do so. They each tried to pay me back for it, and I merely shook my head. You need not pay me back, Himuras. I did not help in order to make you all feel indebted to me. The only request I have is to love each other and be there to help one another. Oh, and Shoto, I said as I walked towards Shoto. He looked nervous until I asked to shake his hand. Sure, Shimura, he said, reaching his hand towards mine. As soon as we shook hands, I healed his burn scar and all the injuries Endeavor caused. His mother and siblings were weeping as Shoto looked confused, until I took out a mirror from my pocket dimension and showed it to him. He was in awe as the scar was no longer there. Now you can finally move on from the young angry boy who failed to save his mother a decade past. Himura family, I thank you for allowing me to aid you all. I must take my leave and return to my family for now. Rei and Fuyumi have my number. Feel free to share it with Shoto and Natsuo so you all can reach me anytime you need do so. Farewell for now, my friends, I said with a smile as I warped back home. My family were so proud of what I did, and I received a great many bone-crushing hugs upon my return, as was the rest of the UA staff. I learned from Nizu that myself, along with Oka and Mel, were to be automatically given seats in Class 1A. We all thanked him profusely for that, as we were all to be in the same class. I also mentioned the gifts for the 5 girls to them all. Nizu sent letters to Toru Hagakure, Kyokujiro, and Mina Ashido to allow them to bring their gifts to use during the entrance exams, which was awesome as they were all scared they couldn't pass the practical exam without them. They thanked me many times when they received the letters. I was enjoying my time with my 5 wives as well as chatting the 7 other women and the sons Himura. A few days later, the wives and I learned that I was successful in impregnating Mitsuki. She was so happy even while dealing with the evil bastard known as morning sickness. The other 4 were happy for Mitsuki and decided to wait to consummate the marriage, as it were. They wanted to wait to do anything like that, which I was okay with, as I didn't want them to feel they had to do it before they were ready. That made them happy to know I was willing to wait until they were ready and not going to force them. Soon 3 months passed by and the day of the entrance exams came to be, and we were allowed to watch from the staff watchroom. I smiled as I saw the 5 girls I saved arrived at UA. Momo Yaoyorozu was in the observation room with me. Izuku, I did not know you'd be here, said Momo as myself and my family walked in and we sat by her. Nizu didn't want me to tell any of you as they didn't want to pressure the 4 taking the exams, I said as we watched the students enter the sites and get ready for the exam. I noticed Kyoka and Mina being approached by an angry speed quirk boy with a massive log up his butt and sent a message to Nizu. He allowed me to head down there and attempt to calm the situation down. I warped between the 2 women and the angry boy. Oi Tenya Ida, back off. These 2 have been granted permission by Nizu himself to use their equipment, I said, spooking the boy who glared at me. What are you doing here? You weren't taking the written test nor at the auditorium. You have no business being here, quirkless freak. He barked out as I sighed and looked at the girls. Pardon me for a moment, CC Rockstar and Alien Queen. I shall be right back, I said as I snatched Ida by the throat and warped to the observation room, which was filled with massive waves of killer intent, all aimed towards the quirkest rich boy. Tenya Ida, youngest son of the Ida family, brother of Ingenium. You are hereby blacklisted from UA Hero Course for your ignorance and quirkest views. Begone from my sight or I shall let everyone here tear you apart, said Nizu in a voice that left no room for debate as he messaged Ingenium about the incident. Ida cried as he ran from the room. I sighed and warped back to the girls. Ida has been blacklisted from UA Hero course and he's currently running home crying. You two are still permitted to use said gifts from 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟. I said, smiling at them as they breathed a sigh of relief. I caught wind of stray thoughts from a boy in the crowd and smiled. Hitoshi Shinso. Is all I said, and the boy walked up to me. Yeah. He said as I had a mental conversation with the staff delaying the exam for a few moments. Nisa gave me permission. Well, congratulations, young Shinso. The staff has granted me permission to give you something to aid you in this test due to your heart and lack of combat quirk. Use it wisely. This will not work on 3-pointers, but it will allow you to fight the 1- and 2-pointers. I said as I opened my pocket dimension and pulled out a double-edged longsword. I handed it to him. A sword? But why? He asked, confused. I heard your thoughts, Shinso. You have a heroic heart and a powerful and awesome quirk, but it's useless against robots. So I had a conversation with the staff and they decided that I could help you take this exam. He was surprised to hear that. I listened to his thoughts before smiling. There is no such thing as a villainous quirk, Shinso. A quirk is just a tool. It's the user that determines if it is heroic or villainous via their actions with said quirk. He looked at me and had teary eyes. Thank you, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘. I won't make you regret this. He said as he held the sword. That's good to hear. Also keep that blade, Shinso. It's yours. A gift for a true hero from a true hero. I said as I smiled and bid farewell to the students. I warped back to the observation room just as both Rei and Fuyumi arrived. Much to my surprise. Well, if it isn't the gorgeous goddess of ice Rei Himura and the appealing princess of ice and flames Fuyumi Himura. A pleasant surprise to be sure. I said with a smile. As they sat down while blushing. Thanks, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘, said Rei as Fuyumi was too busy losing her mind while blushing. Oh, you two and Momo can just call me Izuku. He no reason to stand on formalities for me. I said with a smile as Eri jumped into my lap. Hi, Miss Rei and Fuyumi. Nice to see you again. She said with a much better command of Japanese. The two women blushed before hugging the snowball, who smiled bright. Hi, little Eri. Oh, you give the best hugs still, said Rei as she hugged Eri. The three women agreed to call me just Izuku if I called them by their given names as well. I smiled as I sat amongst the 8 women. Aizawa, sitting next to Mom, was actually smiling and looked pretty happy. We watched the exams and luckily there was no major injuries. Although a couple students were immediately put on short leashes if they were to be accepted to the hero courses. Once the exams were finally over with, the 2 Himuras joined us at our home. Apparently they had been having talks with my wives and they all came to a decision. I walked in with the women as we saw Nana and Lionheart having a very heated debate over what character from a soap opera they have been watching should be shipped with who. I swear the 2 oldest members of my home are the most childish. They finally ended the debate once they saw us. Oh, did grandson just get 2 more CC wives? Asked Nana with a squeal and a blush. I blinked, but before I could respond I hear. Yep. Both Rei and Fuyumi have been granted permission by his wives to marry Izuku as well. My mom said as I began to glow beet red and mutter up a storm. Leave it to Mom to just blurt SHT out like that. My mutterstorm MK7 was ended by the sudden kiss of one Rei Himura that felt as if I was kissing a being of pure energy. I a bit, but she was a lot. After the kiss was broken, I was standing still blushing and trying to figure out what was happening. Holy whoa. You 5 were right. He's the best kisser like ever. Shouted Rei as I was still confused before Fuyumi says, oh well, if Mom says so, as does the 5, guess I need to test that theory out for myself. With a blush and a smirk. I finally rebooted just in time for those soft lips to kiss me and make it feel as if I was between an erupting volcano and a sudden ice age, holding them back with the massive power surge the kiss delivered into me. For 3 minutes we kissed and our tongues waged war. Finally we broke for air and Fuyumi, with a lustful look on her face, just says, God damn, you're alright. He's amazing at that. I blinked a few times before finally speaking. Who the what with the where now? Sigh, and I'm supposed to be a goddamn genius. My wives explained the situation and I was stunned. Apparently in the past 3 months via my interactions with the Himura family, Rei and Fuyumi had fallen for me. Well DMN. Guess Eri just got 2 more CC mamas. I said, not realizing what I was saying. The two blushed hard and bear hugged as everyone cackled. After a bit I stood up and we went to Nizu, surprising me further as both Shoto and Natsuo were there. We talked for a bit before getting Rei and Fuyumi added to the marriage. I asked what we would do about living arrangements and Rei smiled. Well, Natsuo and Shoto will still live at the mansion, but could me and Fu move into your place? I smiled warmly. That would be fine by me. Fairly sure the others won't mind either. I said as we left to head and tell the wives. After a good 30 minutes of hugs, cheers, and tears, I went with them to collect their things. Phew, finally another chapter in the books. Sorry if this was short, hehe. I was still in awe that both Himuras wished to join my 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. I never imagined to have one amazing wife, let alone 7. I was in heaven and glad that not only do I have all these women, I still have the others I saved who I enjoy spending time with. It's been a few days since the exams and the girls all came over to open their letters to see if they have been accepted or not. Momo, however, having already gotten in, just came to spend time together. It was so hard to not give the answer to them as myself. The 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘, Mother, Nana and Lionheart all knew the answer. The girls were very nervous, but they finally decided to open their letters all at once. To their surprise, the holograms inside the letters giving the results had Nana, Lionheart, Eri in her armor, and Mother in them, each explaining the results to the girls. Every one of them got into UA as all had over 50 villain points and over 30 rescue points. They were surprised to learn as well that they'd all be in 1A along with Momo, Shoto, Melissa, Achiko, and myself. Me, being the dumbass I am, was yet again tackled to the floor, though I had no complaints this time as it was all the girls bear hugging me. Though I was neon red as I felt so many melons, thighs, and hands on my body. I was quickly knocked out of my head and howling to the moon like a goddamn psycho wolf. Then when I finished, I dove between the girls back into my mind. I finally rebooted as the 50 minutes the girls hugged me, laid on me, and groped me. Thank Dagoya, I had been lucky enough to have the proper personality and heart to make this a reality. I looked to Nana and Lionheart and snickered as they shuffled their feet. That's not the only surprise. You see, myself and Lionheart here are also hired to work as the heroics teachers here. I have an old friend who will join us during certain tests and classes. As long as you all meet his expectations, then I know you will go far. Granted, you already have Dagoya's acceptance. Anyway, we will not show any form of favoritism. Meaning you have got to earn your grades and prove yourselves to be fit for duty. We will be harsher on you all than we would the rest. So be on your best behavior and give it your all and you will have no issues. Said Nana. The girls all gulped as, unlike the 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘, they had not been notified of this. We knew since the exams, as grandmother and my predecessor explained that, as well as their reasons why. Mina and Toru both looked scared and looked between each other, then Momo and me. Yes, I will gladly tutor you all if you so longing. I wish to help you surpass your limits no matter what, as I yearn for you all to become true heroes. I said with a grin. This immediately put them at ease as, unlike the rest, those two were the most airhead. Slap. Flap. Wabum. Ow fuck. The hell was that for girls? I asked after I was bitch slapped by Mina and flew into a baseball bat held by Toru, who smashed me all the way into a pair of knives held by Jiro before I was blown up by several grenades from Momo. You didn't have to insult us/Mina/Toru like that, Izuku. I heard the girls shout in unison before I looked up to see a very infuriated narrator San sadistically smiling as 20 dragons start flying towards me. I quickly regret everything and beg for mercy as the dragons chased me, firing off breath attacks. I'm so sorry, I yelled as narrator San groans and returns us to the story. Author San pulling this fourth wall bullshit. Back to the story. Ahem. I mean, those two had the most work required academically but had the quirks to easily handle the hero course classes themselves. I looked out the window as the girls all began to speak. I had gotten fixated on something before I called Lionheart over, as I figured he'd know what the weird shadow in the sky was. Hey Lionheart, come here. I shouted as the giant came over and peered out the window as well. Oh no. He has found this world. He shouted frantically, causing us all to panic. What? That's a person. What is so terrifying? We all asked as Lionheart gulped. That is a vortex of darkness, Izuku. The villain I warned you about that not even 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 could defeat. He's found us. We need to work fast. Girls, you all stay here. Yes, even you, Nana. Only myself and Izuku can stand a chance at beating him. Lionheart said in stern, gruff voice that left no room for arguments. The girls all looked at me scared for my safety. I smiled and nodded, telling them all I will come back safe and sound. I sighed and nodded to Lionheart as we left the home and sprinted off into the battle that began the world's greatest threats. We raced as fast as we could to the location of the vortex. To my horror, there were dozens of wounded. Yet no person has emerged from it yet. It was as if the vortex itself had attacked them. Be cautious, Izuku. The energy leaking from that vortex can be lethal. We need to get the wounded out of here and take down the 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘, growled Lionheart. Could tell he was terrified by the events. I rushed forth, and between my physical strength and telekinesis I was able to get all the wounded out safely as more heroes arrived. As soon as I got the last to safety, hundreds of heroes began to converge on the vortex. Lionheart, seeing this, shouted for them all to get back, saying only he and I can survive this fight. Unfortunately, they didn't listen. They rushed forward only for a massive dark flame to erupt from the vortex and in an instant slayed over 50 heroes and wounded 100 more. I was scared, I'll admit, as only a fool wouldn't be afraid at these circumstances. In one attack this dude took out so many heroes and incapacitated many more. Oh god! He's coming! Izuku, we need to get them out of here. As soon as he steps through I'll attack him and buy you time. Roared Lionheart as a massive being appeared inside the vortex. He was an astonishing 24 feet tall and carried massive swords on his back and hips, wearing a red helmet that covered all but his black scara with horns on the side. He wore as well a full suit of blood-red plate mail with spikes running along the sides. I swallowed hard before I bolted into action and began to shift the wounded heroes out of the area. Lionheart was fighting with all his might. God damn it. How did you get so much stronger? You were not this powerful even at 100% when we fought a millennia ago. He roared while dodging and parrying the attacks the towering being threw at him, all while it was cackling like a mad fool. I finished getting the wounded out and returned just in time as Lionheart was being overrun by the being. Lionheart, who the F is this guy? I yelled my query as I joined him in the fight. We both have to use max strength to block his blows, and still it rattled our bones. This is the demonic god that possessed Tengen Black in my world. He is equal to 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 in terms of strength and abilities, but he's supposed to be weakened due to using the vortex of darkness to reach this world. The god of darkness and chaos Exodus. I froze for a moment. This MullinLiam is on par with 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 and we're supposed to take him down. F me sideways, whoever the god is that hates me so can go F himself. I grunt with maximum effort as Lionheart and I are using all our strength to push the swords back and barely succeed. I leap back and tell Lionheart to buy me some time as I burst into shining mode. I charge to 100% strength and take out Musashi. Soon as I reach max power, Lionheart gets sent flying from a massive punch. I roar as I fly forward, firing off energy slashes at the monstrous demon. He wails in pain as the slashes hit him one after the other, knocking his sword from his hands. I smile as I warp in front of the beast and spear him with a powerful move to his forehead as I then follow it up with a downward slash with everything I have. I barely move the blade a foot or two before he smacks me away. Lionheart leaps up and catches me as I cough up some blood and spit out a few teeth. Not good, Lionheart. This dude is far too powerful for us to beat even if this is his weakened state. I say through clenched teeth while I'm squeezing the handle of my blade. True, Izuku. As far as I can tell, even if we used my final technique it would not be enough to take this 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 down. Can you think of any scenario in which we best him and either banish him back to the realm of darkness or manage to wear him down enough to kill him? He asked, looking at me nervously. I sigh as I can't think of anything even though I have 7 of the 11 power sets unlocked. Unless one of the final 4 have some insane power we will not win this fight. No. I can't think of anything we can do. If the beast had arrived much later, then maybe we would be strong enough to take him down. Lionheart groans as he takes stock of the situation. Without tempestuous Vorpal here we're screwed. He was how I banished this monster from Tengen in my world. Melissa is not yet powerful enough to use that spell. Guess this will be our final battle, Inheritor. He says with a bleak smile. I think as fast as I can, scenario after scenario, but none of them come in handy. Still I refuse to walk away and hide from this fight. No, Lion. I refuse to let this be where our story ends. I may not be strong enough to capture or kill this monster, but I refuse to give up as long as there is breath still in this body. I spent all my life being the underdog. Remember these words, Lionheart Bloodrage. I have never given up. Not once in my life. I never broke a promise either. I am Izuku Shimura, grandson of Nana, inheritor of yours and 10 others' powers, chosen by 𝗧𝗪𝐴 himself. Not even death will prevent me from beating this monster. I said as pure willpower flows from my eyes and powerful conviction fills my voice. Lionheart smiles bright as he reaches into his satchel. Well then, young Shimura, my power's inheritor. I guess I have my answer. He pulls out a small device with a few buttons on it. If you're truly willing to die in order to beat this demon, if you truly have the conviction to sacrifice your life to end his rampage, then this is what you'll need for Power 8 to activate. I look at him confused as he hands me the device before he smiles and nods, rushing to face the demonic god once more. I see. Well then, Lionheart Bloodrage. I thank you for this. I know not what my power shall be, but I just hope it's enough to win this day, or at minimum force the being to retreat. Better late than never. I think to myself as I press the buttons in the order the faint glow kept repeating. No sooner had I finished inputting the final button did a massive light erupt throughout the sky, blinding all except 𝗧𝗪𝐴 from seeing what was happening. 𝗧𝗪𝐴's POV. I smile as I hear the conviction and honest truth Izuku tells Lionheart. It's been 1,000,000 years since this power has last been activated. Impressive, human Izuku. Very impressive. I must say I had some doubts you could activate this power so soon, but the fact you could become one with Power 8 proves I was not mistaken in my original hypothesis. However, even with this new power, will you truly be able to stop 𝗓𝗓𝗧? Or will you need to banish him like Lionheart was forced to do? I watch as the power envelopes human Izuku in a bright gold and blue energy and makes his body grow tremendous compared to his normal state. Now 𝗓𝗓𝗧. Face my champion. Izuku Shimura, the inheritor of the powers of the greatest warriors and mages who faced you in the past. You may have bested them one by one, but now that they can combine with this boy and his newest form, you are facing an equal. Take him down, Izuku. Fight with every fiber of your being. Prove that you have the power to make your promises a reality. Izuku's POV. I am bombarded by massive pains as my body is enveloped in blue and gold energy. Suddenly I begin to grow massive in size. I howl in agony from the pains of this transformation. After a full minute I have reached my maximum size of 30 feet. As the light dies down, the energy begins to dissipate. I stand there showing my newest form to the world. I am encased in a brilliant blue and gold armor that appears to be a combination of samurai armor and mech suit. I am covered head to toe with only my face uncovered for now. I smile, not yet realizing that my eyes are a solid silver scara and my hair is akin to a blue flame with a white center. Even my freckles have vanished. This power is incredible. I shout so loud the glass on building shatters in an instant. Sweat drop before I see Lionheart facing off against 𝗓𝗓𝗧, who is no longer smiling and laughing like a madman. I clench my fists and in an instant 2 massive 6-meter-long energy swords come to life as I glare at the monstrous deity-level being. Very well, let's go, Izuku. Form 3, Gilded Samurai of Life. I shout as I launch myself towards 𝗓𝗓𝗧 while telepathically communicating to Lionheart my plan. He smirks and leaps backwards out of the battle. He smiles and waves as his exhaustion hits. I stab one of my light blades into the beast's chest and the other into his leg at speeds even shining mode can't reach. I smile as I warp the demon god and myself into space, far away from inhabited planets. I hear 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 laugh as he tells me he will show the fight to everyone on Earth so they can see what happens when a demonic god fights the soul chosen by 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟. 𝗧𝗑𝗧 roars in agony as I yank the beams out of his body. I jump back a bit as I use my flight and telekinesis to control my body in space. Damn it, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟. I'll kill you for this. You dare choose another mortal to fight me in your stead. You coward. Once I have slain this pathetic boy, I will find your prison and decimate it with you inside. The demon bellows as he grabs his wounds, healing them. I glare at the BSRD as I deactivate the swords. Sorry, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟, but I am your opponent this day. I may not be a match yet for you at full power, but with these 8 powers all at once charged into my gilded form, I may just yet be a match for you. I have no way of slaying you, this I know. But what I can do is make you retreat back to the dimension you came from. I yell as I charge every energy and element into the palms of my hands. I slam the blasts together into one massive beam and fire it at 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟. Now face the wrath of the chosen soul. I yell with a bestial effort as the blast nails 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 square in the face. For a second it seemed the power was too much for the monster to take, but soon I can feel a massive force resisting my blast. I yell even louder as I put more power into the attack. Sorry mortal, but your attack won't be enough. Now die. I hear 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 say with a devilish smile as his fangs are protruding from his maw. Before I knew what was happening, I felt a powerful slash across my lower back and thighs. I gasp out as my blast is blinked out of existence. I turn to see 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 had somehow gotten behind me and slashed me with his swords in an X pattern. Damn it! How'd you do that? I ask as I try to get my wind back. I can tell I'm healing, but I know not how long it will take. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 smiles wide before he chuckles. Did you not listen to your friend back on that planet? I'm weakened, yes, but even in this weakened form, I have nearly any power you can think of. Just like your 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟, I'm a god compared to you mortals. I'll give you this one chance, boy. Surrender and vow to serve me, and I'll forgive these transgressions. Refusal to do as such results in your demise. He says with a smarmy smirk on his face. I snarl as I float up to where he is. My head facing down. I see. Sorry, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟, but it seems your vaunted champion is a coward in the end. Yes, child. Bow your head in shame as you become my newest SLV. He gloats as I start to laugh. Small at first before I break out into a loud and powerfully mad fit of laughs. Sorry. But I decline, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟. I've never once in my life given up, nor gone back on my word. How do you think I earned these powers in the first place? I will never run away and allow evil to rule the universe. I will never go back on my word or break a promise. I will never give up. You're facing a man who can't be bought or bargained with, as I wish to be a hero. Not some subservient beta to a pathetic alpha such as you. We will fight all out. One will win. The other will vanish for a time. Trust me, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟, you will be the one banished. I say as I finally fully heal. I smirk at the beast as its face contorts with rage and disgust. You dare mock and insult the god of darkness and chaos. It seems 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 chose a poor champion indeed. Farewell, Izuku Shimura. I have no more time for you. He snarls out as his hands become enveloped in those black flames he used earlier. I smile at this as my face is covered with the helmet's mask. I'm not going anywhere, you giant hemorrhoid. I'll end this before you grow too powerful. I yelled as I ignited the beam swords again. I begin twirling the blades as fast as I can as I use my energy manipulation to create a barrier around myself, infusing massive amount of energy into it. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 smirks and aims at me. Burn asunder, mortal plague. He bellows as the flames are shot towards me and impact the barrier. I grow nervous for a second, but the flames only burnt a part of the way into it. I smile softly before suddenly a voice fills my ears. Well now. So you're the one father has chosen. Nice to meet you, Izuku Shimura. I yelp as I step back, still maintaining my shield. What the FF? I stammer out, causing the voice to laugh. Have no fear, human Izuku. I'm not but a remnant. Though think of me as an AI if that helps. Said the cheerful voice of a young woman. I blink a few times before it speaks again. Why thank you for thinking I am young, but I lived for over 3 billion years. Although I suppose compared to father I am quite young indeed, human Izuku. I begin to freak the F out as the cheery ghost spoke her age. I mean, I knew 𝗧𝗪𝐸 has existed since time began, but DMN, I never imagined to meet another being even close to his age. Now I've met his opposite and as well his dead daughter. What the F even is my life anymore? Suddenly the woman giggles again. Human Izuku, I can hear your thoughts, you know. Anyway, I'm here to guide you through this form's power. I never imagined the 𝗧𝗪𝐸𝐸 would be wielded by another, but I quite like the name you chose for the form. Anyway, I will activate the boosters so you have access to more power to take this monster down. She said with a mirthful conviction. Seriously, she's as bubbly as 𝗧𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 giggles and activates the boosters. Suddenly, in a flash of electricity, I begin to glow hotter and hotter as my armor takes on a rainbow pattern of pulsing energy. What is this?" asked 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 as I smile behind my mask as the power begins to grow like a wildfire. This 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 is the power of the 𝗒𝐿𝐴𝐽. It multiplies my strength to the max I can control. Lucky for you, it's only being multiplied by 4. I was wrong when I arrogantly assumed by merely transforming I could be your equal. But now I truly am your current equal. Come, demon. Face me and let might determine the victor. I shouted with power as my body pulsed with strength I've never before felt. Now, human Izuku, it's time to use the last weapon I had crafted for this 𝗒𝐿𝐴𝐽. The blade of eternal light, said the voice as she told me how to summon it. I smile as I raise my right arm above my head and shouted the phrase. Let no darkness blind my sight, for I am the knight of eternal light. I bellowed as loud as I could as 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 rushed towards me, slashing his swords with lethal intent. But just before the swords would hit me, a massive light stops the blades in their tracks. In my hand, the light dissipates, first showing a long handle. As the light vanishes from the weapon, I'm in awe. A brilliant metallic double-bladed sword is in my hands. From the ends of the handles, twin handguards shaped like roaring dragons spit out massive metallic blades that shine as if the blades were light itself. It was as if I took my comet sword and 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 blade and combined the ends of the handles together. I was in awe at the weapon when the voice chimed in. This human Izuku is the blade of eternal light. It takes any shape you wish, but for now this is its current form, as I had yet to use it in battle in any other form. I smirk at the possibilities it could present before I glare at 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 once more. Time for the real fight to start, Demon Beach. I shout as I slash wildly at 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘. Greg, demon, you mortal. How are you able to match me in power? I'm 10 times as strong as the last time I visited this realm. Not even 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪 could match my strength. Screams the massive demon as I laugh. Well then, did you calculate how much weaker the vortex would make you, or did you just jump at the first chance to escape? I asked with a 𝗧𝗟𝗘𝗍 grin. F you mortal, I'll kill you, wailed the gigantic crybaby. We fought for well over 2 hours and neither of us could gain the upper hand on the other. But if this keeps going, I'm afraid the boosters will wear off. I already know I haven't weakened him enough to face him without them. DMN, you mortal. I've had enough of this. 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 roared in his fury. I groan as his blows connect with my blade. I leapt back as the daughter of 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪 chimes in again. Human Izuku, if we do not do something, our boosters will wear off in 30 of your minutes. Got any ideas? I sigh as I breathe heavily. Actually, I got none. I'm so exhausted here, daughter of 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪. What powers does this 𝗒𝐿𝐴𝐽 possess besides the weapons? I ask as I hold the double blade aloft, eyes locked on 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘. He is breathing a bit heavily as well, but I can tell he is still vastly stronger than my base power in this form. We can create weapons, channel energy and elemental attacks, store excess power in the gloves and boots to use for short bursts of strength, absorb and fire back any type of energy attack we're hit with. There are more, but to use those you must be able to handle 8 to 10 times your current power. I nod subtly as my mind races with possibilities. When it hits me, you said we can absorb and rebound any energy, right? I ask as she hums before saying yes. I smile a bit. When it's fired back, does the attack increase in power? The daughter of 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 giggles. I think I understand your plan, 𝗓𝗏𝐻𝗏𝗧𝗏. But can you get him to do it? She asks as I smile and begin to laugh. 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 hears this and grows absolutely furious. What's so funny, foolish mortal? He spats out. I chuckle a bit before I respond. Is kind of funny. I purposely fought you with blades ever since this one appeared. My guess is you thought I was being honorable or some SHT. But other than your fire element and your blades, you've yet to show the ability to use this suit's weakness against me. I said while chuckling. 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 growls at me before his eyes suddenly snap open. Oh really? Thanks for the information, mortal. He said with an arrogant smirk as he sheathes his blades and holds his hands towards me, palms facing me. I smile as I activate the energy rebounder and dissipate my blade of eternal light. I make it look as if I am too exhausted to continue as the fool of a demon cackles madly. Say farewell to yet another chosen champion, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟. He said with utter hatred in his voice as he launches a demonic energy blast at me. Just before it strikes home, I raise my left hand to face the energy wave and grunt from the impact of it slamming into my palm, but I can feel the energy absorbing into me. The power circles through my body, growing even stronger before storing it in my right hand. Soon as I have absorbed all the energy, I see a truly enraged 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 glare at me and accuse me of tricking him before he smiles as he shouts something about how I'm not looking any stronger, so absorbing his energy did nothing. Nothing, you say, 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏? Well, seeing as I absorbed it and you are weakened further, I'd say it did something. But I've had enough of this charade. Time to face the power of this 𝗒𝐾𝐲oid and yourself combined. I roar as I lift my right arm, unleashing the vast store of power in one giant beam. 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 finally looks shocked as he tries to hold the beam back with his bare hands. What? How did you do this? He shouts as I infuse more of my might into the beam. Simple. I used your arrogance against you. I warned you I'd never give up, yet you fell for it. Now fall, beast. Fall to the might of a mortal infused with your own power. Let this be the last of this eternal battle. I bellowed as I put the last reserves of the energy and my own boosted energy into the attack. 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏. I'll be back, you bestiardi. I'll kill you and your precious 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟. He screamed in fury as I see him open another vortex of darkness and fly through it, shutting it as the energy beam flies off into space unknown before it dwindles and disappears. Holy FF, that dude's tough. Thanks to you, daughter of 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟, we survived, was all I remember saying before I passed out. I dunno how long I was unconscious, but when I woke up I was in 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏's ship being tended to by him and mother. My wives and my friends surrounding me with Eri asleep on my chest. Hey guys, how's tricks? I say with a chuckle, hoping comedy will save my butt as they look pissed. Long story short, it did not. Cue a full hour of them venting their frustrations and fears as I nod and agree to anything they say in an effort to avoid being torn asunder. All of this while 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 and Lionheart laugh. After all that, I hear that familiar bubbly voice yet again. Wow, 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗟𝗏, you have 12 wives that are very protective of you. I yelp at that as my wives and 5 friends all blush. Freezing up for a second, I ask, did you all hear her? The women all nod as 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 clears his throat. 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏, since you activated the 8th power, you woke my daughter 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏's remnant. She can communicate with you and anyone, and she stores herself in your mind. If she wishes to, as you get stronger, she could even make a hologram of herself appear beside you. For now she is too weak as her power just reappeared. I nodded at that as 𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗏 spoke. Father is right, 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏. I will gain power as you grow stronger as well as through time. But I am glad that you managed to force 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 back into the realm of darkness. I smiled as I remember the end of the battle. Well, Duran, without you there for guidance, I never would have known what I was doing with your power. So I owe you a lot for saving the day. I said gratefully to her. You're most welcome, 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏. Though now that you have faced a weakened form of 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏, you and the rest can see how far the gap between you and he lies. What will you all do? I looked at everyone, and all except 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏, Mitsuki, Mother, and Eri look on with resolve. We will grow strong enough to defeat him. Together we will end this eternal battle between good and evil. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟 and 𝗔𝗏 with you too as our guides, we have already become mighty. But even myself, as powerful as I am, was barely a match for a weakened 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟. I must hurry and unlock the last 3 powers. Unless we all grow much stronger, that demon will destroy us all. I said as everyone nods in agreement. Mitsuki, however, looks a bit sad. Do not worry, Mitsu. I understand that while you yearn to help, know that there's no shame in not fighting when you yourself are with. So, it's safer in the end, as we would all be in despair if something were to happen to you and we lose the baby, you, or you and the baby. Mitsuki smiles at that as she nods. Yeah. You're right, Izuku. Just feels weird being the odd one out. I chuckled at her words. Mitsu, it's not an issue for anyone. We all just hope that you have a normal 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 and give birth to a happy, healthy child. Says Ray as the rest of the wives agreed with her. Mitsuki sniffles a bit before hugs them all while smiling bright. Okay, but if you all slack off, I get to be drill sergeant. I think we just signed our death warrants, Izuku, said a nervous Achiko as I die laughing. After the revival process by 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟, we spend a few minutes talking, and as soon as I am feeling okay, we all teleport back down to Earth after 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟 handed me a small box saying it was important for the 𝗏𝗧𝗱 and 𝗔𝗏𝗧𝗟. I smiled as we said farewell and were teleported back to the house. I sigh as we all head inside, but I stop just before entering to look up into the sky. Human Izuku. I know, but don't worry. Father will work overtime to let us have advance warning for if 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟 dares to enter this realm again. Stay vigilant, but do not worry too much, okay? I nod and sigh as I step inside. My life has changed ever so much since that day those 11 months prior, but I wouldn't change any of it. I will protect them all and end this battle once and for all. Few chapter 13 is in the books. He needs sleep. Lots and lots of sleep. May not be the best, but I do hope everyone enjoys this so far. 3 days after the battle with 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟, I was awoken by a heartbreaking vision. My screams woke my wives, who were terrified more when they turned on the lights. I was scared and angry and covered in sweat. Izuku, what's wrong? Asked Melissa as I caught my breath. I shook my head before I spoke. I need to go. Momo is in danger, I said as I got out of bed. The girls were getting more scared before Achiko spoke. It's part of your powers, isn't it? I nodded as I got dressed. It's the passive part of my magical power. Visions. They can occur at any time, yet most often do so during sleep. It's how I foresaw Eri, as I had visions of her, and the one at night led me to her. Namuri and Nijire looked from each other, then to me. Need help? I smiled as I opened the door. Would be pretty useful, but please hurry over to the 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏 estate. I'll warp there now. When you arrive, keep your eyes open. There's a massive number of foes about to assault the mansion, I said as they went wide-eyed. Be safe, Izuku, all my wives said at once. I nodded and warped to the 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏 estate. I arrived just as an explosion tore through the mansion gate. I snarled as I stood blocking the main entrance to the estate and telepathically shouted to the 3 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏s inside that they need to run, as the entire mansion is surrounded by villains. No sooner had I finished my warning and took out my swords did the villains swarm in. Begone, villains, the 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏 family is under my protection, I bellowed, stopping the would-be assassins in their tracks as they recognized me. I could hear their whispers and began to chuckle. Very well. Since you refuse to flee and end this, be forewarned, I will not go easy on you. I roar as I rush the foes, slamming into them as I slash my blades. The sudden attack stunned the horde of enemies as I smashed them with the blunt sides of my swords, sending several people flying while knocked unconscious. I was being shot and stabbed the entire time as 𝗔𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏 cackled. Ha! Human Izuku, they really think they can kill you with conventional blades and projectiles. Are all human villains such fools? Which, oh, how do you say, scared the living SHT out of them to hear some super bubbly voice laugh at them and question their intelligence. I laughed along with her as I kept taking down the villains. What the hell is this dude? How can he keep moving with so much damage? I heard as I smiled viciously and look at the guy panicking. Because I'm essentially a demigod, dumbass. How else could I have taken on a god earlier this week? 𝗔𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗏 warned me that something large was flying towards the rear of the mansion, and I growl as asking her how soon it will arrive. She yells as a massively powerful explosion hits the mansion, sending myself and the enemies flying. As soon I slammed into the ground, I got back up and turned around to see the ruins of the mansion and heard Momo's screams. I warped to her and saw a bloodied Momo shouting in agony. Not only was she burnt, she had lost a lot of blood and had a blade pierced into her ribcage through a lung and almost pierced into her heart. I knelt down and yanked out the dagger as I healed her. As soon as I finished healing her and helped her up, the remaining forces charged us. I warped with Momo to my mansion at UA. She said her parents were taken by someone before she passed out. I sat her down as I saw Melissa and Oka come rushing in to check on Momo. I explained and warped back to the ruins of the estate and saw 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 and 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 taking down a lot of the would-be assassins. I charged several energy blasts and fired them off at the rest, ending the battle shortly thereafter. I ran up to the pair and told them what Momo said before she passed out. "Can you feel them, Izuku?" asked 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 as I shake my head. 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 interrupts. "If you can't sense them in shining mode, use the 𝗒𝐿𝐴𝐽𝑔. We each freeze as I am about to pull out the transfuser. 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 asks. "Wait, if he uses the form, won't he be too big to get to them?" 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 smiles. "No, human 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. The only reason he was made so large was the size of the opponent he was facing. Human Izuku can use the form in a more human size after activating the power." I shrug as the two think on it. "Do it, Izuku," says 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 as I leap back to activate the form. As soon as I do, I start to grow when 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 shouts to think of any size I want to be, and as long as it's below 50 feet, I will be able to hold the form in that size. So I stick to my base height, and shortly after that the light dies down as I shrink back to my normal size. Phew. That didn't hurt as much as last time. Okay, what's next, 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘? I ask as 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 is contacting Tsukachi and Nizu, both explaining the situation. "I'll activate the boosters and then you try your life sense." I nodded as the boosters activate, sending my power skyrocketing. As soon as I'm at my strongest, I again try to sense them. I get a faint trace and focus on it. I tell the pair before I warp to it. I look around, but there's no sight of the Yaoyorozus or their captors. I try to sense them, but the faint trace around me is all I can feel. 𝗔𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 as well, can't make hide nor hair of it. I make a last-ditch gamble and call for 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 bit as I keep trying to sense them coming up blank. Sorry, human Izuku. I cannot find them anywhere on your planet. Even the equipment couldn't find trace of them after human Momo was attacked and they were taken. Perhaps the people who attacked the estate would know. I take a few deep breaths as I make myself calm down. I warp back to the girls and relay the information. I then look amongst the unconscious villains and take a closer look at them. When I eyed one of the larger members, 𝗔𝗓𝗏 gasps. Human Izuku. Father. That big one there. He's not human. I stop for a second before I reach down and take the man's mask off. She's right. Oh no. What this is, but it definitely isn't human. I say as the being suddenly leaps up as it fires of a psionic attack at my head, only for it to do absolutely nothing. Really? I deadpan as I fire off my own stronger psionic blast, sending it sprawling across the lawn. I warp to it as I use the 𝗏𝐼𝐻𝑧𝗟𝗘 weapon creation power to make a set of cuffs that shut down psychic energies. That's enough of that, ET. Now what are you and why are you here? I demand as the being continues trying to use its powers on me. I grin as 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 tells me to grab it. I grab hold and the two of us are warped to 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘's ship. Hey 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. What is this dude? I ask as we arrive. The being tries to tear itself away from me only for 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 to use his powers on the being, stopping it from moving. Human Izuku. This is one of the brood of darkness. They are some of the inhabitants of 𝗂𝐻𝗧𝗟𝗃 realm. This one and most likely others managed to breach into this realm from the initial vortex of darkness that 𝗂𝐻𝗧𝗏 used. But none are capable of opening their own portals. So speak, being of dark, and tell us where the humans you took are. He spoke in a powerful voice as his aura flared to life. They are in our hideaway. Far from even your prying eyes, coward 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏. Hissed the being. Suddenly it burst into black flames, surprising both 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 and myself. Damn it, 𝗂𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏! Roared 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏 as I tried to extinguish the flames. It was to no avail as the being burnt into dust. 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 snarled as he spoke. Those flames are a power only 𝗧𝗓𝗧 can use. Nothing puts it out. Meaning when that brood spoke my name, he used his power as emissary of all darkness to ignite the black flames each being of darkness harbors inside it. I was enraged hearing this as I couldn't understand what 𝗧𝗓𝗧 was playing at. Not 𝗧𝗓𝗧. If he was behind this, he would have slaughtered the Yaoyorozu parents and taken the daughter. This is someone new. Someone not even I have met before. Said 𝗔𝗓𝗏. I slumped down as I was going to have to tell Momo this when I get back. I apologize, human Izuku. I will try to turn back time again to the moment that human Momo was attacked and her parents taken. Said 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 as he used his power. But to our shock, even when he turns it back to even before that moment, it's as if the beings that took them aren't there. He freezes time and sends me to that point and not even I can see anything. I used my life sense and nothing. I shout in anger as I'm warped back to the ship and time was returned to normal. This is very difficult to understand. 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 is not able to do what these beings are. I must try searching many worlds to see if I can find them. While you need to go back to Earth and inform those there. I will not give up until human Momo has her parents back, human Izuku. I promise. I sigh as I look up to 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏. I trust you and will do what I can to help Momo through this. Please let us know the moment you either find them or figure out who these beings are that did this. 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 nods as he tells me he will and bids me farewell. I land at the ruins of the mansion and talk to Nemuri and 𝗔𝗧𝗓𝗏. I tell them what's going on and the pair are shocked. They tell me to head back home and they'll handle things here. I wish them luck and warp back to the house. I saw the whole house was awake already minus Eri. Nana and Lionheart asked me what happened and I explained everything to them all as Momo was asleep in one of the bedrooms on the first floor. Demon. That's a new one on me. Said Nana, drawing a sad chuckle from me. Izuku. I've never even seen one of these beings of darkness aside from 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏. You do know what that means, don't you? Lionheart asked as I nodded. If you are the last of the champions before me, then it means he's afraid of my potential. If he merely would possess people until forced to face 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏's champions, then we foiled his original plan. He most likely planned an invasion of his forces to slaughter the champion. Then he would be free to slay 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 and conquer this realm. The girls all were shocked by the plot. It was bad enough what with the encounter a few days ago. But knowing it was to be an all-out offensive, they knew, if not for me, this universe would have been slaughtered by 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 and his forces. Lionheart sighed and affirmed my thought. Yes, Izuku. We must work faster and unlock all your current powers and pray that 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 grants more just in case. I nodded when a noise from down the hall caught my attention. I warped and saw Momo had collapsed as she had gotten out of bed. Momo, are you okay? I ask as I help her up. She weeps and hugs onto me. Izuku. where's mother and father? She asks and I tell her all the events that transpired. Even 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏 can't find them yet, Momo. If we knew what these things were, then he could scan planets for them. Momo wept as she tried remembering everything. Izuku, it was like they were invisible, but for a fraction of a second I saw one when it stabbed him. I held her as the rest of the girls waited outside. Human Momo. If we got you to father, he could examine the event from your mind and we could see the beings clearer. I blinked a moment and contacted 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗏. He warped us to his ship and took the scan of Momo's memory. Suddenly he grew pale, scaring all three of us. Father. What's wrong? Asked 𝗧𝗓𝗏 nervously. These beings are beyond time. They're the ones responsible for my banishment to this ship. If I were to exit this vehicle, they will swarm and kill me. I killed the last king of their eternal species in a battle 8 billion years ago. They're called the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 but to hold the power to hide even from time. The pair that took your parents' human Momo are both more powerful than human Izuku in his gilded samurai of life form fully boosted," said Dagoya in a hushed tone, scaring us even further. "Human Izuku, I have yet to give you new powers because your human body cannot contain them currently. Until your shining form evolves further and you can withstand more boosted limits in your �𝐼𝐾𝐲oid human Momo's parents are beyond saving." He trailed off as I got a crazy idea. "Could you grant Momo power to make it so she could help level the playing field?" 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 sighed before he looked to me and then Momo. Human Izuku, I very well could grant her the power that would help greatly. But, unlike with you, for her to successfully obtain the powers it would require a vastly more dangerous ordeal. One in which she could not use her quirk, but I will grant her power as well if she can do it successfully. However, you both need to know this. If you fail Momo Yaoyorozu you will die. I can send you with her Izuku Shimura. But understand this, my young champion. You too would be forbidden from using your powers once the ordeal starts. Do you both understand this? I look from 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 to Momo and I see the self-doubt and fear mixed with her sadness and pain. I cannot allow her misery to continue. Momo, I'm not going to let this end your tale. You are important to me. Not for the role you play in this, but for who you are and have shown me to be. If I just need to give up all my power and risk death to grant you the power to aid us all, then I'll gladly put my life on the line. Let me help you become strong enough to match the forces of evil who took your parents from you. Together we can accomplish anything. Momo teared up but smiled. Yes, Izuku. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘, I can't let fear hold me back. Even risking death is part of being a hero. What type of hero would I be if I couldn't risk my life to save my parents when even the man I love is willing to do so for them? She said tearfully as I kinda noped out of my head, making 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 and 𝗔𝗏𝗏 cackle at my shock. Told you she loves you, Izuku. Father, when the ordeal takes place what will happen to me? Said 𝗔𝗏𝗏 as I still was trying to get the words out. 𝗔𝗏𝗏. You can be there with them, but under no circumstances should you aid them in this quest aside from being on encyclopedia and alarming them of dangers. Understood. 𝗔𝗏𝗏 sighed at being handicapped, but agreed as I finally got the words out. You love me too. Causing the godly father and daughter to cackle madly. Yes, Izuku, I do. Ever since first laying eyes on you I had feelings for you. They blossomed faster with each event you took place in. Further, when you saved Kyoka and myself from those pervs. Day by day it's welled up within me until tonight's events. Saving me. Risking death to save my family. I can't let fear keep me in check any longer. Said Momo as I just sorta stood there like a goddamn statue. Well, I owe Mitsuki a new bikini. Oh, and Oka a bunch of mochi. As I love you too, Momo. I said, turning her crimson. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 chuckled before interrupting us. That's all fine and good, but I need to bring Lionheart and Nana here to inform them of what is happening. Not but mere moments later did they arrive and we explained the situation. I asked them to inform everyone else while we start our quest. Nana hugged us both and Lionheart told us that he had to take an ordeal himself, so he knows the risks we're taking. We swallowed hard before bidding them farewell and sending them back to Earth. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 sighed before he told us he would send us to a tumultuous time in a planet far from Earth. It's about at the Middle Ages in terms of development. We are to obtain an artifact, and once both of us have a hand on it he will warp us back and grant Momo the powers to aid us in our fight against the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 smiled and wished us luck as he warped us away. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘's warning played on a loop in my head as we soared through space at light speed. I smiled softly, having fully understood what he had warned me of. I just hope Momo doesn't wig out when we arrive. I know not where we travel to, nor what awaits us there. However, what I do know is that if we fail, then the entire universe is doomed to fall prey to Exodus. Our deaths would be cataclysmic for the universe. After what seemed like hours, we finally landed on solid ground. When the light dissipated, we were left astonished beyond words by where we stood. The grass was a deep blue, and massive thick trees stretched miles into the air. The sounds of the forest were vastly different than those on Earth. Various animals could be seen darting across the forest floor. I looked down and smiled softly, not surprised to see my old form once more. We appear to have arrived, Momo. We should make our way through this forest and seek out the nearest village, I said with my original voice. Momo flinched at that before turning and letting out a soft gasp. Izuku, is that why you? She asked, confused by the small weak form before her. I smiled softly and nodded. Other than Mother and Mitsuki, none of you have seen my original appearance. This was how I looked before I accepted the powers, I said quietly. She stepped closer to me as memories of me telling her and the 𝗧𝗏𝗏 about my original appearance before played through her mind. Are they still there, Izuku? She asked in a whisper. I nodded as I knew what she meant and pulled my shirt off. She gasped in horror as her face went green. It's not a pretty sight, is it? I asked, looking at the massive number of scars and my missing left pectoral muscle once more. 𝗔𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 chimed in at that moment. Human Izuku. Human Momo. Might I suggest talking about this later? We are currently on an alien world, in a forest that's probably full of predators. We need information about this artifact Father seeks, and the only way to get it is for the pair of you to find some form of civilization, as I cannot aid you in this quest. I nodded as I put my shirt back on. Momo nodded as she still looked sick. We had slowly traversed through the forest for about 30 minutes before she finally spoke again. I'm sorry, Izuku, for my reaction to your scars, she said softly. I smiled as I looked to her. No worries, Momo. It's very understandable of a reaction. Very few people could easily stand seeing such a disturbing sight. You are the only person to see them besides myself, I said as we made our way through the woods. She nodded with a sad smile before I sighed and spoke. I got the majority of these scars from Mitsuki's son. While she taught him better, the fool grew so arrogant and quirkish thanks to the aid of Aldra school systems, that he saw me as nothing but a diseased freak that shouldn't exist in this world. Always referring to me as Deku, to remind me that I was worthless and constantly attacking me in order to 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 his quirk. Even teachers, students, civilians, police and heroes joined in my abuse. Japan is the worst place for a quirkless person to live anymore. There, we are treated worse than mutant types, villains, even worse than animals. I was a rare one amongst my peers, as I had not given up on my dream or killed myself. Most of the other quirkless in our generation die before they are 10, either from being killed by quirkists or choosing suicide. So I was considered old in my youth. Aside from Mother and Mitsuki, I truly was all alone. I had no friends until the day I was gifted my powers by 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏𝗧. Since then, my life has changed so much. It's as if I had survived hell and made it into heaven. As I spoke, I hadn't noticed my tears falling as the memories played through my head until I heard Momo sniffling. I turned and saw her crying as she felt the enormity of my torture through my tearful words. I smiled as I stood still. She wrapped me in a hug as she wept. I smiled as I held her when 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 spoke once more. Of all the tales I've heard and seen through my life, I've not often heard tales as dark as yours, human Izuku. Father was right when he said that you were most deserving of becoming his champion. I pray that life never falls so dark for you again. I chuckled as Momo released the hug. Well, I have got a huge support system now with a great many allies, and with the two of you here, I feel like my strength will only grow further still. Now, let's find this relic and return to Earth stronger than ever, I said as cheerful as I could. Well, as much as I was warned in advance about your prior appearance, Izuku, I must say Inko and Mitsuki weren't wrong. You always were a handsome prince, she said with a brilliant smile. After a few minutes, we started walking again. We trekked for hours as we saw various forms of flora and fauna. Creatures large and small. It was like nothing like we had seen before. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 was unable to aid us in our ordeal more than simply as informing of what the various life forms were. But we did learn quite a lot about them, which helped us discern what was edible and not, as well as what was prey or predator. Finally, we reached the forest edge and saw a massive expanding field. Far in the distance, we saw signs of civilization. A large walled city with a castle sitting in the center. There is our destination, Momo. We need to get there as soon as we can and find any information we can about this artifact 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 sent us to obtain, I said with a smile even while exhausted from our journey. I felt bad as we went much slower due to my weakened form. Yes, Izuku. No matter how long it takes, we will succeed and get even stronger to end this eternal war and save my parents, Momo said, beaming a smile. I nodded as I slowly regained my breath. Before you two get ahead of yourselves, we need to start building a shelter. The two of you also should try and make some weapons just in case. All I can do is inform you two of the resources. Once we reach that city, You two will have to handle the actual search on your own. Father did say I can inform you two of any dangers, but that's the limit of my involvement in this trial. 𝗔𝗓𝗏 said as we both groaned and nodded. After a couple of hours, night had fallen. During that time, we both managed to make some small tools to help us cut down trees and made rope from some fibrous plants to build a small hut raised off the ground to keep any insects away. I had built a good-sized fire to prevent freezing during the incredibly cold temperatures night on this planet brings. Momo was currently working on making some form of bed and blanket as I was warming my body by the fire. You need not feel like you're a burden to her, human Izuku. She does not see you as a burden. 𝗔𝗓𝗏 said kindly. Maybe 𝗔𝗓𝗏. But I feel like I am holding her back. If I had access to my powers, I could be of more help to her. But I won't let this weak body fail her. I will find a way to be of use to her. I vowed with all the determination I could muster. 𝗔𝗓𝗏 giggled at my words. Human Izuku, you never fail to surprise me. Even with your original form. Even on an alien world. Facing an almost insurmountable challenge, you still show that heroic spirit of unmatched power. If I weren't but merely a remnant, I'd gladly choose you as a mate. She said, which made me blush profusely. Thanks 𝗔𝗓𝗏. I said when my brain was working again. Well, I think you may have enjoyed it too. She said as suddenly a vision of her living form was filling my mind. She was slightly taller than Momo with even larger melons than Momo and Midnight. A thick butt and six-pack abs. Long lean legs with deliciously CC feet. Long crimson hair and appealing violet eyes. She had a gold tint to her skin and an amazingly appealing smile. I was blushing wildly as I heard her speak. I was right. I knew you'd enjoy that, human Izuku. She said as I nodded and took a few deep breaths. You were an incredibly appealing woman, 𝗲𝗏. Though you do know you need not refer to myself or Earthlings as human before our names, right? I asked as I put more wood on the fire. Thank you very much for the compliment, and yes, I know Izuku. I just tend to forget as it had been forever since last I spoke to living beings. It takes some getting used to as even before my death, the Earth was not yet an existing planet. I nodded, understanding what she meant. A few minutes later, Momo came and sat beside the fire. I finished making the boy and blanket so we can stay warm tonight, Izu. How are you handling things? She asked as she sat next to me. I smiled softly at that. I'm doing okay. The memories aren't bothering me as much as before. The fire is going pretty well, and thanks to the info we got from 𝗔𝗓𝗏, we know which plants and animals are edible for us. Luckily, we have her, or we'd have already been poisoned earlier and most likely will have died from exposure tonight. I said as I wrapped an arm around her. Thank you, Momo, for allowing me to be here with you. I may not be as strong as before, but I will do what I can in this weak little body to aid you in our ordeal. Thank you as well, 𝗔𝗓𝗏, for your advice and the information you can give us. I gratefully told the two girls. Both were glad to hear my thanks before Momo spoke. Your body may be much weaker than before, Izu, but you knew it would happen and still had the courage to face this test alongside me. I am incredibly thankful for having you and 𝗔𝗓𝗏 here to help teach me how to be brave enough to face this challenge. I wish to walk beside you as long as possible, to learn from you not only on how to be a hero, but how to be strong and confident in my abilities. I chuckled a bit at the end, which made her pout. Sorry, Momo. Just well, I currently am nowhere near as confident as before. I had much worse self-confidence than even yourself prior to meeting 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗏. But I have faith in you and 𝗔𝗓𝗏. Between you two and myself, I am certain we can handle this. That surprised Momo. To hear that, I was even less confident than her before my powers. She hugged me into her and we talked for a while. I told her of the many horrors I survived and the lessons they taught me as she told me of her experiences at her older schools. She was angered greatly by how the hero society had failed myself and Melissa time and time again. Yet, she was proud to see how the two of us have managed to become the two we are now. She put a lot more logs on the fire, and we retired to the hut for the night as it was getting much too cold to stay out there. Luckily, with its vicinity to the hut, the fire managed to give some heat to us. Combine that with the blanket and the two of us sleeping side by side, we were able to stay warm. As we lay beside one another, my thoughts raced. Thinking of the others on Earth, especially little 𝗧𝗓𝗏. I refuse to let this be the end of our story. We will find this artifact and return stronger than ever. 𝗬𝗏𝗏, did you decide to join me? I heard Momo ask quietly. I sighed before I gave my answer. To ensure you will not get lost in despair. If you came by yourself, then you'd be too preoccupied with what happened to be able to think straight. At least with me here. Even without our powers, I can help you stay focused and not lose yourself in sadness. What happened was horrible, Momo, but we will get your family back. We will stop 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘. We will accomplish our dreams. I told her with every ounce of conviction I had. She smiled as she looked into my eyes. Thank you, 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Thank you for being you. Anyone else would have sent me here all alone, but you, even knowing how much it would weaken you, came here with me without a second thought. With you by my side, I know we will succeed. She said as we cuddled together under the blanket. We knew the journey ahead was fraught with unknown dangers, but together, we would face it head-on and fight like hell to succeed. It was not long before the two of us had fallen asleep in each other's arms, with 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 telling me she would wake us by sunrise or in case predators were to make their way into our camp. I was thankful for that, as we had very limited ways of waking ourselves if we were ambushed in our sleep. Luckily, we didn't have to be warned of predators or potential enemies finding us when we awoke. We had slept peacefully through the night, and as the sun rose, 𝗔𝗨𝗧𝗟𝗘 woke us up. We rose from our sleep, and when I checked some traps we made, I found some small edible animals. I took them back to Momo, and the two of us cleaned and cooked them before eating our fill. We were ready to make our way to the city. 𝗔𝗨𝗏 advised us of any threats we were likely to encounter along the way. Truly, without her, we would not survive long in a world like this. After an hour and a half of walking, we finally reached the city. We were in for a shock at the appearance of the native beings in this world. There were several humanoid races. Some looked like orcs, others like elves, and there was even a race that looked just like humans, which explained how 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏 chose this world. While we looked similar on the outside, our organs and even BLD were vastly different than theirs. Thanks to the only piece of equipment we each were given by 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗏, we could communicate with any of them. The orcish beings were known as 𝗧𝗓𝗏s, and the elves were called 𝗓𝗓𝗏s. The human-looking ones were called 𝗓𝗏𝗏s. Apparently, the most common were the 𝗧𝗓𝗏s, with 𝗓𝗏𝗏s as the minority. Momo and I listened to all the information that 𝗔𝗨𝗏𝗏 was allowed to give us. First things first. We need to find a way to earn some money so we can get armor and weapons. Then we can ask around about the artifact. Sound like a plan, Momo? I asked, as we knew that without any money, we could get nowhere in our search. I suppose so. We will need to be able to buy any essentials and most likely need to buy info as well. Without weapons and armor, we would stand little chance in defending ourselves. We also do not know how long we will be here, so we may need to be prepped for the long haul, as it were. Momo replied in agreement. We walked through to the center of the village and found a notice board. Thankfully, the translator helped in reading the posters. After a while, we found someone who needed help ridding some pests from their basement. Well, I guess it wouldn't be an adventure if we didn't have to slay rodents in the first quest, huh? I said with a chuckle. Momo giggled at that. Fair warning, Izuku. These pest animals will be far more dangerous than earth rats. From the name, I have a feeling they mean the 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏. It's about 3 times the size of a common rat and sports large venomous fangs and claws. You would need to have weapons if you plan to take them on. 𝗔𝗨𝗏𝗏 chimed in, making us both lose our smiles. Well, CRP. It's the only job we could even hope to handle. How can we get weapons to fight them with no money, 𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏? I asked as 𝗔𝗨𝗏𝗏 hummed in thought. Izuku. We could use the traps we made in the forest to catch a bunch of animals, as well as search for various herbs that we could sell. Then with the money we get from that we can buy basic arms before we start looking for jobs to earn more money. It may take some time, but we will also learn more of this place in the process. Momo said with a grin. I thought on it before I raised a finger. First, Momo, we need to find if any of the local shops would be in search of things like that. Then if they are, we will do it. That way we don't waste time. I told her and she nodded vigorously. We went towards the market area and after an hour we found a shop that needed not just pelts and herbs, but meat as well. They'd pay us pretty well for live catches as well. With that our plan was set and we made our way back to our makeshift home. As we got back, 𝗔𝗏 gave us a suggestion to move further into the forest to not only get more abundant animals but also give us a better place to make camp. We went to a location she had suggested that had level ground and a clearing. We went to work making a much larger building that would have an open fire pit in the center. It gave us essentially multiple rooms. We built it nearly right alongside a huge boulder that would help keep us protected on one side. By the time night had fallen, we had most of the floor and walls constructed before making our way back to the other campsite. If all goes well, we could finish building it in the morning and then start trapping animals and gathering flowers and herbs. It sucked that we had to take our time on everything, but with the circumstances as they were, we didn't have much choice. From the looks of things, we will be here for quite some time. It's been 3 days since we arrived in this world. Momo and I have managed to make a home here in the woods while we work on gathering pelts, herbs, and even live animals. We have slowly managed to build the home up and even managed to find clean drinking water as well. I may not be as strong as I used to be, but I am slowly getting used to my old form once more. We know not how long we shall be here, but we have to prep for the long haul. Momo is amazing. With her and 𝗔𝗏 to keep us informed on the flora and fauna, we can succeed. I have to believe that, as I will not be able to count on my powers to help us. Unlike Momo, I am not strong. I am very weak in this body, so it will take me much longer to grow accustomed to the physicality involved. But even so, even as weak and powerless as I am, my mind is my greatest asset. The days have been arduous, but each day brings with it a new challenge. Yet we must meet them head-on. Tomorrow we will be taking all the pelts, herbs, and any live animals to the city and see what we can get for it. Today, our goal is a bit different, as one of our traps happened to be sliced up not by a raging or wounded animal, but by a blade. The green blood of the animal which was caught in it was sprayed on the ground, and boot prints leading away from it suggest we are not alone. Izu, what do we do? We have nothing to defend ourselves with. If the person who took the beast returns, what's to stop them from barging in here and attacking us? Momo asked nervously. I sighed as I looked around the foliage. Momo, after we built the home, I made a few things as you slept. In case just such a thing occurred. Let's get back and I'll show you, I said as I spotted something we could use. I raised my finger to my lips before Momo could speak again as I pointed to it with my other hand. I stood up and signaled her to follow slowly. We slowly made our way over to the object, and a smile etched our faces. A dagger. We can use this, Momo said excitedly. I nodded and knelt down to reach for it. Just as I was about to grab it, we heard a stick break underneath something's weight. Both of us stopped cold and turned to face the direction it came from. Standing not 30 feet from us was a 𝗧𝗟𝗘 being covered in glistening silver fur. It stood nearly 8 feet tall and with the head of a wolf and 6-inch claws at the ends of its massive arms. Its breathing was heavy as its lips were bared in a snarl. Dear God 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘, Momo began as I slowly reached for the blade and finished her sentence for her. A werewolf. Stay calm, Momo. No sudden moves, I said as we each gulped. The beast slowly stepped toward us as its nostrils sniffed the air. I noticed a mix of wounds as well as blue blood on its maw and hands. I grabbed the dagger in hand and stood back to my full height. Momo, we no longer need to worry about the person who took our catch, I whispered as I raised the dagger. Before she could reply, the beast roared and leaped towards us fast as lightning. Dodge, I roared as I swung the dagger at the beast. Momo barely managed to avoid the claws of the creature as the blade slashed the beast's face. It howled as it swiped its clawed hand at me. I dove to the side, narrowly avoiding its claws. Izu, run, we have to get back to the house, I heard Momo shout as she launched a large stone at the beast's head. Don't gotta tell me twice, I yelled as I stood up, right as the stone blasted the creature in the face and the two of us sprinted towards home. We ran as fast as we could, but I knew I was not gonna reach it before it caught up. I was nowhere near as fast as Momo, and the wolf monster was faster than her by a large margin. I dove to the side as I heard the massive steps landing behind me. Hurry, Momo, get out of here. I yelled as I was staring the beast down. Momo ran as the werewolf thing snarled at me. I don't know what you are, doggy, but I'll be damned if I let you kill me. I hissed as I readied the blade. Momo's footsteps trailing off into the distance. 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘, sorry I wasn't able to warn you of the wolven in time. But I do know that you can take this beast down. Momo will reach the house and be safe, but unless you fight now for your very life, this monster will end you. You need to take the dagger and pierce its heart before twisting the blade. It's the only hope you have of slaying the beast. 𝗓𝗏𝗏 shouted in my head. I smiled as I took my stance, ready to lunge at a moment's notice. Come on, doggy. Let's play. I shout at the wolven as it crouches down with its muscles coiled. Its silver eyes glared at me. It bellowed a mighty cry as it launched itself at me. I rushed forward, ducking under the beast, and with every ounce of strength I could muster, I stabbed at its chest. I narrowly avoided the slash, but the wolven wasn't so lucky as it unleashed a mournful wail full of agony as the blade stabbed deep into the beast's chest. Seconds passed by as we both crashed to the forest floor. My blade stuck in the wolven's chest, making it thrash around violently as it yelped in pain. I twisted the dagger, and in moments, the beast had stopped moving. I held my breath as I waited and prayed the creature was dead. 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘, you did it. The beast is no more. Shouted 𝗓𝗏𝗏 as I finally released the breath I had been holding. Really? I did it? I asked, exhausted from the fight and the race. I slowly crawled out from beneath its massive body. Yes, 𝗧𝗜𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘, you did. I detect no life signs. I took a few breaths as I reached down and yanked the blade free of the beast. I smiled as I examined the creature. We should drag this to the home and skin it. 𝗓𝗏𝗏 said cheerily. I smiled as I looked on. It's amazing that I managed to slay the wolven on my own with nothing but a small dagger. Yes, I think you're right, 𝗓𝗏𝗏, I said as I grabbed the beast by its legs and slowly dragged it to our home. After a good 10 minutes, I was out of breath, but I had managed to drag it to our home. Momo came rushing out with her small stone axe in hand. Oh, thank God. I was so scared it killed you when you weren't with me as I got here. Are you okay, guys? She asked, scared for my safety. I let it go and caught my breath as Momo pulled me in a hug. Why yes. I'm fine, Momo. I said as I held her. Not only is Izuku alright, Momo, he even slayed the wolven. Shouted 𝗓𝗏𝗏, making Momo pull out of the embrace and look to the creature and then back to me. Holy hell, Izuku. How did you kill it? She asked in shock. I giggled before smiling and explaining what had happened. Oh, you're amazing, Izuku. I'd never have been able to do that. But what do we do with it? She asked. I smirked as I withdrew the dagger once more. We skin it and sell the hide for as much as possible. Apparently, wolven fur is in high demand here. I explained, making Momo grin wide. It took us nearly an hour to fully remove the hide, but finally, we got it skinned and set the hide aside. Now what, Izuku? Momo asked as I thought on it. We should dispose of the corpse as its meat is not fit for consumption. Let's take it a good distance from here so as not to draw in more beasts or worse. I told her before we each grabbed a limb and began to drag it away. After taking the corpse a good hour's walk from camp, we made our way back. I walked to the in-ground fire pit we had in the home and began to light it. Thankfully, we thought in advance and had a hole built in the roof above the pit. After cooking some meat, Momo and I placed some heavy boards that I strapped together and sat them in front of the door to prevent intruders entering in the night. We laid down on the bed Momo made before she said, "You know nobody will believe that you killed a werewolf with a tiny dagger when we get back, right?" I chuckled as we cuddled under the blanket. Maybe, but I don't care if anyone believes or not. We know what happened, so that's good enough for me. We will fetch a good price when we sell everything tomorrow. Then, use that to buy arms and armor. Afterward, our search for the artifact truly begins. I said with a small smile. Momo nodded her head in agreement. Before long, the two of us fell asleep. Time skipped 3 weeks. We had sold all the pelts and herbs we could, and with it bought each of us full arms and armor, with the arms being both a sword and bow. I bought greaves, boots, gauntlets, a chest protector and helmet. Momo had also gotten full body armor. After looking over our weapons and armor, we returned to the job notice board. Each of us chose a few jobs that suited our abilities. Soon, we had started earning a reputation as we completed several jobs without fail. Before long, we were asked to meet with the city ruler. Which brings us to our current situation. I see. I must admit, young Izuku, I'd never have guessed you slayed that foul demon. Especially with as small as you are and only a dagger to aid you, said 𝗔𝗓𝗃, the king of 𝗧𝗓𝗏. I smirked at his words. Well, they do say that big things come in small packages, your highness. I replied with a sly smile. The king chuckled deep at that. Well, I suppose they do, young one. Now, for this artifact you speak of. I have heard rumors of such a thing having been discovered in 𝗧𝗱𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘. Apparently, the Prince of 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 found it whilst on expedition. However, I must warn you young ones. They despise outsiders. If they see you, they will attack on sight. Should you too try and retrieve it, I fear that you will be slain. You have weapons and armor, yes, but you need more than just that in order to accomplish your goal. I will try and get a messenger to the king of 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧, but I doubt it will work. While I do that, you too should train and prepare yourselves, as once you leave my land, you will be set upon by even more powerful beasts as well as the possibility of 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 soldiers. I have a few jobs I could give you too in order to better prep yourselves for your journey. I sighed and nodded to 𝗔𝗓𝗃. Thank you, your highness. You're right. We definitely need to get ready. We would be honored to accept your offers. This will help keep us on our toes during our search, I said with a bow. Momo smiled before speaking. King 𝗔𝗓𝗃, we thank you for this aid. We will be on our best behavior if you're able to contact 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 and grant us permission to travel there. If not, then we will be sure we're good and ready to handle a battle if need be. 𝗔𝗓𝗃 smiled before snapping his fingers, summoning his servants. I do have faith in the two of you. You have accomplished what none ever have in slaying a wolven single-handedly with nothing but a dagger and coming out unscathed. Not to mention the complete eradication of the demons of Yasku Valley and slaying of the great 𝗬𝗫𝗫𝗫. I will have better weapons and armor ready for the two of you when the time comes for you to travel there. I smiled as we thanked him for his aid. We really lucked out in having found this city, as the king here was very kind and understanding. Due to Dearun's information, we learned that he was a rare one. Most of the kingdoms here on planet 2964 are very distrustful of outsiders. They would rather kill outsiders than aid them in any fashion. After a couple of hours, we received the job notices and made our way back to our house. We had modified it a bit to be more sturdy in case of attack, as well, bought some dressers and chests to give us some storage. I have a good feeling about this, Momo. With 𝗔𝗓𝗃's assistance and our reputations, we should be able to learn more of the artifact and retrieve it soon. Hopefully, I said as we stepped inside. I pray you're right, Izu, but we should make certain to complete these quests as soon as possible, she said as we removed our armor. We sat on the bed after lighting the fire. You know, I never would have expected us to be doing as well as we have here. Nor did I anticipate being here this long, Momo said with a sigh. I nodded in agreement. I agree, Momo. I just hope the others are doing all right without us. We need to hurry up and find this relic. But at the same time, we need to be cautious. If what 𝗔𝗓𝗃 said of the 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧 is true, we need to be on guard the entire time, even if we should be granted access, I said as I held up my sword. I felt Momo grab my bicep and squeeze it. You know, Izuku, you are filling out pretty well, all things considered. You're not even close to the form Degoya gave you, but you're slowly getting stronger day by day, she said with a grin. I snorted at her words. Thanks, Momo. Sigh, we should get some sleep as we have a tough few days ahead. She smiled as she crawled up on the bed and motioned for me to join her. Well, if I must, I guess I'll sacrifice for the cause, I joked as I crawled in bed beside her. No sooner had I laid next to her did she pull me into a hug and kiss me. The feel and taste of those soft cherry lips was divine. I was surprised by the kiss, but no way in hell was I gonna break it first. I was on top of the world watching the aurora flash round. Minutes passed by before we finally broke the kiss. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗡, that was amazing, I said after getting my air back as I gazed into her onyx eyes. She blushed as she smiled softly. 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘. It was my first one, she said bashful. I grinned at her. Well, you definitely knocked it out of the park, Momo. She smiled at the compliment as we lay next to one another. You know, I've been wanting to do that since the first day we met Izuku, she admitted, making me smirk. Oh, I know. Mind reader, remember? I about died from laughter as her eyes went wide. But you and never mentioned it. I chuckled at that. True. But it was up to you to decide your path, not I. You had to determine your own feelings. If I brought them up, it most likely would have caused friction between us. She blinked as she took a few breaths. You're right. Sigh, I just hope we can get back home safe and sound with the relic, she said quietly. I pulled her closer by my side. Momo, with you and 𝗧𝗏𝗏 here, I know we will succeed. Just gotta have faith. I mean, in the past month alone, we have faced many challenges, and through our teamwork, we have succeeded every time. She smiled at that before looking me in the eyes. You never fail to give me the support I need, to always allay my fears and to always give me advice to help conquer my concerns. Before I could respond, I felt her hand under the blanket move to my pages. Hey, what's up, Momo? I asked with a smirk. Phew, that monster of yours is. So I guess it really was always that big even before the wish, she said, drooling a bit as I felt her hand go inside my shorts. Yes, it was Momo. Phew, your hands are still so soft even with all the hard work we've put in. I'm out. She smirked at me as her hand gripped my engorged pages. Well, I have more soft things than just my hands, Izuku. Need help relaxing the beast? She asked while blushing and looking away, her hands slowly pumping my pages. Oh God, yes. But we don't have any condoms, Momo, I said softly. Momo grinned to me, her eyes full of passion. True, but Izuku, it's a safe day, she said, making me harder than diamond. Well then, seems we have us a long night ahead, hee. She nodded as I lifted my butt off the bed and took off my shorts and boxers. She sat up and removed her top, unleashing those massive mammaries to the wilds. My eyes near shot out of my head from the huge melons with perfect NPL placements. They were small with medium-size areola. The two of us were busy drooling over one another's figures. Tonight will be a lot of fun, Izuku. Hope your girls won't get mad. I laughed a bit at that, making her look confused. They gave the okay long ago, the day before the UA entrance exam. They figured all 7 of you would want to try my magic 𝗏𝗏𝗏. So they gave full permission as long as the girl truly loves me like they do. Seeing as you do, they won't have any issue with it, I explained, making her smile wide. Well then, let's get this started good and proper, Izuku, she exclaimed as her hand reached towards my hard monster. I was in awe of Momo's naked form. From her enormous melons with small nipples and medium areola to her abs and bald pages, her thick juicy butt and lean arms, her thick thighs and delicious feet. I was also embarrassed at my own thin and weak scarred body. She must have guessed as she spoke. Izuku, you're you. Yes, you have scars and aren't as muscular as your gifted form. But as you told me, it's the heart, personality, and traits one proves themselves to have that means more than one's physical makeup. I love you for who you are deep down, not for the outer shell you possess, she said as she leaned in and kissed my missing pectoral. I smiled softly as she did that. It may not mean much to some, but to me, her willingness to still be with me and even do things like this with my horribly scarred body meant the world. I am a bit as she stroked my massive 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and took my hand, lifting her chin to look deep into her eyes as she smiled at me. You're really not turned off by my body, Momo? I asked quietly, and she smiled brighter as she blushed. Not one bit, Izuku. You never asked for people to torture you, resulting in these scars. Why would I be disgusted by proof you survived what no one else ever could? I smiled at her words as I kissed her and, with my other hand, began to fondle one of her enormous melons. We into each other's mouths as she sped her strokes up. As we broke our kiss, Both of us were blushing, and she winked as she lifted her other BI to her own mouth. To my surprise, she began to lick and kiss her own NPL before sucking on it as she stared into my eyes. I was wide-eyed before I smirked and leaned to match her actions with the beer I was effing. She and I could feel her thighs rubbing together beside me. I slowly reached under the blankets and could feel her thighs slow as my hands slowly shifted down, rubbing her tight stomach and then feeling her thighs until she spread her legs. I felt her CLT and then her wet lower lips and began to rub them slowly as she more. I rubbed them as I inserted my middle finger into her version PP and she louder as she popped her lips from her huge BRT. Oh if yes. That feels so good Izu. She purred as I sped up my actions. I soon felt my digit brush against her hem. Her moans increased as I rubbed faster before she began to essentially hump my hand essentially. God yes. You're really good with your hands Izu. Though he want to try as 69. Stopped sucking on her B as I smirked and looked to her. Hell yeah. He. Bet you taste divine. She grinned as she blushed before tossing the blankets off and turning around, lifting her legs over my head to place a knee on either side of my head. Phew, I may not get all of your huge PP in my mouth Izu, but I'll do my best hee. She said as she began to lick my pages. I placed my hands on her thick butt and kissed both of her thighs. Well, you do your best, and I'll do mine to match it hee. I said before I began to trace her lower lips slowly with my tongue, making her as she coated my PP with her saliva. She'd kiss the as she would fondle my ball. All as I slowly moved my tongue inside her folds. I was right as her PP was beyond delicious. She released breathy moans as I felt her kiss the tip of my PP before slowly taking me into her mouth. She only got about 4 inches into her mouth before she gagged and needed to back off, but goddammit it felt great. Slowly, she would try taking in a bit more before backing off, increasing the amount she took in as well as her speed. She also stroked what she couldn't take in. I began to lick all around inside her wet snatch and would roll and flick my tongue before sticking it as deep as I could and swirl it around. Both of us loud into the other's gentius. As she got over half my PP and I backed out and smirked before I leaned up and began to lick her tight little butt. It seemed to surprise her, but given her humping my face as her thighs squeezed my head gently, I guess she liked it. She started to speed up her BLWJB as I would swap between eating her PP and her butt. I loved her tongue tracing the length and width of my PP as her throat muscles tried to open and close around my pages. Suddenly, her back arched as her thighs held my head in place. She screamed into my PP as I felt her juices splash against my face from her orgasm. After it finally passed, she pulled off my pages. Holy F Izu. That was the best orgasm I've ever had. She said between breaths. I smirked as she let my head go. Hee, so I take it you had been masturbating to me then? I asked, and she blushed hard, nodding to signify my tease was actually accurate. Did not see that coming. Well DMN, that's awesome. I said as she scooted closer to my PP and began to SCK me once more. She was going much faster than before and had most of my PP in her mouth. I was enthralled by her skill. She wasn't yet as good as Mitsuki or Melissa, but holy hell, was she still talented. I leaned over and began to kiss her legs as I massaged them. For 6 more minutes before, I felt my ball tighten. Oh F yes Momo. 𝗔𝗫𝐿𝐴. I exclaimed as she kept sucking me until I unloaded huge ropes of cum down her throat. All the while, she swallowed every bit she could. After I finally came down, she slowly pulled off my PP, cleaning it as she went. After she popped off, she smiled at me and licked her lips. Mel and Mitsu were right, your cum tastes amazing. I chuckled at that as she rolled off of me. Thanks. Though, how do you want to do the next part? I asked and hoped she didn't want to do something I physically wasn't capable of doing in my current body. Well, do you know the lotus? I shook my head, and she explained. Okay, basically, we sit up and hug while you stick that monster in my pages. Then I'd bounce as you slowly pump into me. I blinked a few times before she blushed hard. Amina mentioned it. It sounded so NTMT that I felt like that'd make it a great way to, pop my cherry head. I smiled and chuckled at that. Well then, if that's what you want, then I'm definitely down for it. I said as her face lit up. That'd be amazing, Izuku. She said before we each took position. She raised herself up as her legs and arms were around me. I lined myself up to her entrance, and she lowered herself until I was right against her him. 𝗧𝗜𝗍𝗏 as you be break my him. I don't want to scream, and it'd help take my mind off any pain Izu. I nodded as I had been told by all my wives that women can feel various amounts of pain when it's broken. From none to a huge amount. She leaned in and just before she kissed, I asked, "Are you sure this is okay, Momo, and that you're ready?" She nodded before we once again kissed, and she lowered down as I raised up, snapping the him and entering my full 10 inches inside her. She yelped loud into my mouth, and after we broke the kiss, she was taking deep breaths with tears in her eyes. "Are you okay, Momo?" I asked nervously. She nodded as she maintained her deep breaths. "Why, just hurt more than I was expecting," she said between breaths. "We can stop if it's too much. I won't be mad or anything." I told her, but she smiled bright. "Thanks for the kind words, Izu, but I will be okay. Just give me a few minutes," she said, making me relax a bit as I had felt bad for causing her pain. "I know you meant that, Izuku. You aren't the type who gets off in hurting others, especially women. It means a lot, and to be honest, if it was any other man but you, I'd be done. But you are one of a kind and not because of the gifts you've received. Mitsuki and Inko told us all the only real differences between you before the powers are your body and confidence. Your personality is not much different. How you always were kind, brave, loyal, and willing to help others no matter the cost. You'd have been an amazing hero even if you remained like before and never gifted those powers." I smiled, happy to hear that. A few minutes passed before she was ready, and we began to move. Her tight wet PP was amazing as it gripped my hard pages. Yes. You're so good at this she out as we sped up. Thanks, but you're no slouch, yourself Momo. I groaned as our bodies moved as if by instinct. Won't lie, that felt amazing, especially as we began to make out. Her enormous melons bounced against my chest. I was amazed at the amount of energy I was able to produce as I thought I'd be exhausted by now, but somehow, I felt as if my stamina was enhanced. 4 minutes pass by before she breaks the kiss when she arches back as she slams down onto my PP and screams in pleasure. "Good yees Izuku," she yelled as her orgasm hit, splashing my PP with more of her wet SQR. After it finally ebbed, she fell against my chest with her head in the crook of my neck. "Good God, Izu, I was wrong. That was my greatest orgasm. You definitely are one hell of a swordsman," she said, making me chuckle. "Well, I kinda have to be if gonna please my goddess of creation like she deserves," I said, making her smile as she kissed me once more. "Well, never let it be said you're bad with flirting words, Get ready, Izuku, I'm gonna ride you till that huge load gets pumped into my pages," she said with her tongue hanging out as she sped up faster than we were going before. "But yes. God, that all feels amazing." I am out while matching her pace. For 10 minutes, we went at it, and I felt ready to unload into her sopping wet passage. "Phew, I'm gonna cool Momo," I grunted out as she screamed to come together. 3 more pumps, and I was unleashing an enormous load deep into her WMB. Both of us loud as our bodies twitched from pleasure. After they finally passed, I fell back with her still wrapped around me in a tight embrace. "Jesus Christ, that was amazing," she shouted out after catching her breath and pulling her legs from around me. Well, it's Izuku and not Jesus Christ, but that was some amazing to be sure," I said, eliciting a laugh from her. Guess I walked into that one. But DMN, it felt amazing having your thick load shoot inside me. Mitsuki was right when she said it feels amazing having so much SPRM launching inside. I chuckled as we kissed. "Well, I definitely wish I could try it sometime as much as you seem to enjoy it, Momo," 𝗔𝗏𝗏 said, making us both yelp in surprise. "Holy phew. Sorry, I kind of forgot you were there, I said as Momo was trying to catch her breath. Hee, I know Izuku. Though not gonna lie, that was amazing. I've never seen any species do anything like that. Then again, I never did get a chance to mate before I was slain. She said, making us both blank out a bit. Wait, so you died a virgin? Momo asked, not realizing it. I face-bombed as 𝗓𝗏𝗏 chuckled softly. Yes. I was slain before I reached the age to find a mate. So, in your human terminology, I was a virgin. Though if I ever got the chance, I probably would have gone for one like Izuku. I could tell how much he truly loved you and enjoyed what the two of you were doing. Especially how much you accepted and appreciated his marred body. Momo 𝗓𝗏𝗏 confessed, which made me blush as she once more showed me her living form, which holy fuckballs, was she CC as hellfire. 𝗓𝗏𝗏 giggled at my reaction as Momo and I laid back down. I wish you could experience that one day, but with your body long gone, it seems a fool's gambit, said Momo, which made us all a bit sad. Thank you, Momo, as I know you meant that. I wish I could walk the living world once more, but not even my skeleton remains after all these millennia, said a somber 𝗓𝗏𝗏. I felt bad that she was stuck being only a voice and eventually a hologram when her strength increases. I wanted to bring her back even if it was for a single day, to let her see the world and meet everyone once more. She quietly thanked me for that before I got up and put more wood on the fire and we went to sleep. A month later, 𝗓𝗏𝗏 had given us much better weapons and armor after we finished his quests. As well, we never heard back from the messenger he had sent. With a warning, he led us to the pass that would take us to 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 and we parted ways. As we walked, we spoke quietly, our ears and 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏's senses at full. Much as it terrified me to be without my powers, I knew I had to be there with Momo. I hope we don't run into any of the 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏's Izuku. As many things as we have dealt with, I feel very uneasy at having to kill, Momo said, and I had to agree. Yes, Momo. It's good that you don't feel good having to end lives. If you were okay with it or enjoyed it, then it'd be a different matter altogether. One should never feel good or happy with taking lives, 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏 added as we kept our eyes and ears out. I nodded as those words were very much true. Taking lives should never be easy. But I know I will have to do so eventually, as my main goal is to slay the demonic god 𝗧𝗓𝗓. Some beings can't be handled with mercy or kindness. True villains and evil can only truly be ended by ending their lives. I don't like it at all, but it's a simple fact. We made good headway, and according to 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏, the area we reached would not be freezing at night, but it would still get cold. To combat this, we had been given a specially made mystical tent. It will keep us warm and dry as while. Yes, it is warmer at night here. The weather can be hard to handle, as it can be nice and sunny one moment and torrential downpours the next. The first day's travel we saw no sign of enemies, thankfully. But the next day was not as lucky. We came across a small group of 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏s shortly into our trek. Luckily, they hadn't seen us yet, so we were able to get our weapons out. I drew my blade as Momo notched her bow. No sooner had we done so had the leader spotted us, and the 5 men rushed us. Do it, Mo, I shouted as I took my stance. She fired her first arrow, and it struck the leader between the eyes. I waited until she took out her second opponent before I rushed in and managed a lethal blow on the first of the 3 enemies. I ducked the second one's attack and slashed at him, dispatching him in a blink. But as I tried to turn, I was unable to avoid the club of the last, and it slammed into my left shoulder. I howled in agony before everything went dark. When I woke up, Momo knelt over me tearfully. Oh, what hit me? I asked, making her jump for a second before she hugged me gently. I hissed in pain as she let go immediately. Sorry, Izuku. But after you got hit in the head, I was scared you died. She sobbed out as I tried to sit up, quickly realizing that was a no-no at the moment. Sorry for making you scared, Momo. What happened after I was knocked out? I asked as I held my aching head. She explained she barely was able to kill the last guy and then carried me away. We were in a small clearing hidden from the walking path. She started a small fire and cooked up some of our food as I sat up against a tree. I'm glad you're okay, Momo. I really wish I was stronger so you won't have to worry about me, I said with a sigh as I checked my armor. Luckily, it was still in good condition. I know, But even as you are, you still took both guys down with one attack each. Not bad considering you're not used to that body being able to fight," she said as she sighed. "I just wish we could have found the relic already, as it's only going to get more dangerous from here on out. I may be in better shape than you, but I'm not used to real fights against humanoid opponents. I can barely handle skinning the catches we get." I listened to her words and realized that unlike myself, she's never really had to fight people much. Hopefully we get a hold of that artifact soon. We aren't yet prepared for this. Even with all the quests we completed. It's a whole new ball game, as it were," I said as she nodded in agreement. I said as we made camp for the evening. We needed rest and an early start to hope to avoid enemies much as possible. I said as she handed me some food. I ate it as I thought on how best to approach them from now on. "You're not wrong. I hope we can find it soon too. For now, let's get ready for bed. You can use the break." I nodded as we put up the mystical tent. We ate our food and climbed inside. Amazed at how warm it was in there, and as night fell we both fell asleep in each other's arms, praying for a safe journey tomorrow. Momo stood in the rubble of what once was the 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗘 castle, covered in blood as tears fell. Damn it, why?" she asked as she looked at the destroyed throne where he laid. "Why did you die and leave us all alone, Izuku?" she asked as she choked on her sobs. "But what happened to leave our mighty teen dead? Where will things go from here? To know the answer, you must walk down the rabbit hole." It had been 6 months since the duo had gotten sent to this new world. In this time, both had grown much stronger and learned a wide variety of things. From flora and fauna to fighting tactics. Both have fought and slain a vast number of creatures and 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗏. They despised killing, but there was no other way to ensure their survival. They had joined forces with several mercenary groups, forming a small army consisting of the 3 races. The relic the dynamic duo had been sent to find was being held in the main keep of the 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗏 castle. Izuku had changed a lot. Longer was he skin and bones. He wasn't anywhere near his impressive form after being gifted his powers, but he was much stronger with a lot more muscle. As well, he had chosen to fight with twin longswords. Momo chose a spear and bow. Both were now very deadly fighters who had hardened resolve to slay this kingdom's cruel king and his lineage. They'd witnessed far too many atrocities and been to the aftermath of when 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗏 soldiers got into drunken rampages. They stood at the castle gates as the stronger men slammed a battering ram into it. "Once we get inside, we are to head straight to the throne room, then the main keep to grab the artifact. That should allow us to return." Should being the optimum word. "If not, I'ma kill me a sadistic king," said Izuku, who was more angry than ever before. Momo grunted a response. Both have lost their compassion for the 𝗧𝗟𝗪𝗏 ever since they came across the first orphanage that had been burnt down with the children crucified. Demonstrate. Even should we get the artifact, he needs to be put down. All those innocents, all those children, all our friends. He will pay for killing them all. She growled out as each readied their weapons. The moment the ram cracked through enough, Momo began firing lethal shots. She took down several soldiers before the gates were destroyed, and the melee fighters rushed in. Izuku in the lead, and he had no more F to give. Even Dearun felt no mercy nor compassion for these 𝗧𝗟𝗪𝗏. She had not seen this much utter destruction of life in millions of years. She spurred Izuku on as he slaughtered his way through the castle. Any fool dumb enough to darken his path was taken down immediately. "Get your butt out here, King Ruckard. Fight me like a man instead of sending these pansy but beaches to wet my blades," he bellowed as he killed his 100th foe. Even if Katsuki or but might had been there, they'd have refused to show themselves to Izuku when his face was contorted into such a rageful expression. The king hid within his throne room, unwilling to fight for fear of the boy who slew his sole heir to the kingdom. When he received the gift of his son's head with its lower jaw, tongue, and eyes missing, he knew this boy was beyond him. Yet, he tried to manipulate his forces to bring him and his girl down. But those two stopped every assassination attempt. Hell, they had yet to scratch his armor in the past 3 months alone. Momo, on the other hand, was shooting down every foe she saw. She followed Izuku into the castle, but as planned, She stayed back to catch any soldiers rushing to their king's defense. However, unlike Izuku, she was not as agile in combat due to her physique. She was a force of her own, but she relied on her spear and bow for distance to make up for it. She was powerful but not flawless, especially without being able to create things. Still, she had plenty of arrows and was slowly clearing each floor. She would not allow a single enemy to survive if they didn't choose to surrender. Woe behold those foolish enough to fake a surrender. She brutalized the unfortunate 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 with all her fury. Izuku had complete faith in Momo, but he and 𝗔𝗏𝗏 both knew he was doomed to fall in this battle. It was why they had her slowly clear each floor. Not just to ensure all the soldiers would die, but so she didn't have to watch him be killed. I wish there was another way, Momo. I truly do. But this was the only way you could get the relic and return to our loved ones. I'm sorry. So very sorry for not being able to keep my promise to you and the rest of the ● But I pray you will live a long and happy life. Find someone that suits you. Have children. Be a heroine. I know you all will find a way to slay 𝗧𝗍𝗪. Raise Eri and reach her what it meant for the world this day. The sacrifice to turn you into an unstoppable force that rivals even the gods in power. Izuku roared in his mind as tears fell. He dodged and slashed through every foe he could find. Skirmish after skirmish as he raced to the top. Even with his new strength, he was still susceptible to injury. He picked up many gruesome wounds as he made his way to the king. But his rage pushed him past his limits. To the point he was about to break. He refused to back down. They were so close to their goal, and he would not be stopped. Not by something as minor as pain and blood loss. You can't stop me. Send as many as you wish, Tyrant King. I'll put each and every one of them down before I kill you. He roared as his blades danced in his hands, slashing the fools to ribbons. He dodged and parried if he could, but many times he needed to take a wound to kill the foe. Soon he was at the throne room and breathing heavy. He kicked the door off its hinges and smiled like a maniac as the foes inside fidgeted, seeing his macabre appearance. Honey, I'm hum. He shouted as the soldier trembled with fear. Oh goodies, I love to play with dollies. I'm going to enjoy ripping them limb from limb. Then me and Mr. Rucky gonna play fillet the king. Isn't that right, Mr. Rucky? He said with a massive grin as he rushed inside, slicing through the enemy forces. He fought like a man possessed, dodging and slashing, refusing to fall. Momo had caught up and was shooting as many as she could before only Izuku and a handful of enemies remained, causing her to rush up the stairs to retrieve the artifact. However, no sooner had she run in the relic room did a massive explosion rock the entire castle. Momo panicked and rushed for the artifact as explosions went off all over the castle. Unsure of what the cause was, she begged and pleaded for Izuku to be all right. As the 𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 said before, they were transported here. How if they are slain, he cannot bring them back. She killed the 3 guards stationed in the relic room before rushing to the altar the relic was on. It was a strange device. It seemed to be similar to the device Izuku had to use in order to take on his 𝗏𝗍𝗪𝗏. Shrugging, she pocketed the device and raced back to the throne room. There was rubble and corpses everywhere. Momo grew more nervous as she made it to the throne room. Once she got far enough in to see the throne, she froze in place. Izuku? She asked, unwilling to accept the sight before her even as the tears fell. Izuku Shimura's corpse lay across the throne. Noits and not PP possible. You PPR promised us said you wouldn't die. She said through choked sobs. She stepped closer as she spoke. Damn it, why? She asked as she looked to the destroyed throne where he laid. Why did you die and leave us all alone, Izuku? She asked as she choked on her sobs. Her anger and sorrow were about to break the 𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗪 when she heard a cackling laugh behind her. Turning, she saw the grotesque form of King Ruckert. He was severely overweight with a piggish snout. He stood well over 6 feet and was easily 5 feet wide. Ah, did your pathetic lover die and leave you as an offering to my power? He asked with a cruel smirk as his enormous blackened teeth jutted from his maw. His hand seemed to glow with incredible power that horrified Momo as she stepped back in fear. Grabbing her bow and notching an arrow, she fired it, and the arrow struck home between his eyes. Yet, that didn't do anything as the king merely cackled and pulled the arrow out. "Did you really think such things would work on me, foolish girl?" he growled out with a vicious sneer. Momo stepped back as she notched more arrows. She fired several at the demonic King 𝗏𝗏, yet none worked. Reaching back, her eyes went wide in fear. All her arrows had been fired, meaning she would have to rely on her spear. She was very adept with it, but due to the sight of him walking around with arrow holes, all healing at an insane pace. "No. IWW won't let you kill me." She cried out in fear as the king pointed his palms towards her, and the next thing she knew, a massive explosion erupted from them. She screamed and fell back, sending the device skittering across the floor. It had stopped at Izuku's hand when in a flash her and Izuku's body was seemingly protected by a brilliant light. "You will not hurt them anymore, foolish despot," roared a familiar voice. Momo looked up to see a tall woman with long crimson hair. She had enveloped the duo in a barrier as she stood between them and the king. 𝗓𝗓𝗏. She stuttered out in shock at the figure. "Yes, Momo. That device you picked up was created to hold within the building blocks necessary for my revival. While you two couldn't use your powers, Father never said I couldn't once you retrieved the relic. I will handle King 𝗏𝗏. You should watch over Izuku's body and ensure no one can tamper with it," 𝗓𝗏𝗏 said, sniffling a bit. Her father never forbade her from using her powers after the duo retrieved the resurrection device. "What's this? Who are you to dare interfere with my affairs, wench?" demanded 𝗏𝗏 before 𝗓𝗏𝗏 snatched him by the throat and rushed off carrying the massive man as if he were weightless. Momo was still in shock at the sudden turn of events. She slowly picked herself up and went to Izuku's side. She wept as she looked to the corpse of the man she loved. "If IH had just stayed, we see could have won, then you'd still be alive." Yet she trailed off as she stroked his hair and wept. Meanwhile, 𝗓𝗏𝗏 was facing off against the Xeonosian King 𝗏𝗏𝗏 one-on-one. "Greg, who are you, wench? How are you so diamond strong?" demanded the king as he held his chest. 𝗓𝗏𝗏 growled as she stood tall. "I'm the closest thing to a god you will ever meet. In this life anyway. I'm sure you'll meet a god after I turn you to dust. You hurt so many people as you hid behind that magic of yours. A coward such as you doesn't deserve the right to declare yourself a king. You're a charlatan, nothing more." She snarled as she held her arm out, and light began to be drawn to her hand as King 𝗏𝗏𝗏 rose to his feet. He smirked as the mighty demigoddess glared death at him. "Bring it on, girlie. I am now the sole god on this planet. You may be strong, but you'll never be a match for me in the end." 𝗓𝗏𝗏 grinned at hearing that. "I wouldn't be so sure about that if I were you." Before she fired off a massive energy blast that cleaved off both his left arm and leg as well as a huge chunk of his torso. The king howled in agony from his wounds, but 𝗓𝗏𝗏 wasn't done yet. Holding out her hand, she smirked before summoning a massive greatsword and rushed forward. She stabbed the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 in his thigh before twisting the blade, snapping his femur and amputating his right leg. As the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 man roared in pain and horror at his predicament, she slapped his face, enveloping him in pale green energy. When it dissipated, he was whole once more as she licked her lips. "WHYH heal me?" he demanded, only for her to cackle and begin slashing at blinding speed, slicing the bestial being into ribbons. "Because it's no fun if you die too fast. You killed Izuku with a sneak attack. I won't give you the same luxury." 𝗓𝗏𝗏 yelled as she once more healed him before further ruining his body in more gruesome ways. From weapons to energy attacks. Before finally beating him to death with her bare hands. After regaining her composure, she warped back to Momo and knelt beside Izuku's corpse. Before she could speak, the trio were covered in brilliant light and sent hurtling through space towards the prison ship of 𝗓𝗓𝗏. Momo had no care left in her. Without Izuku, their hope of ever finding her parents alive again is gone. The sole individual responsible for slaying 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 as well is no more. After several minutes of travel, the trio arrived before 𝗓𝗓𝗏, who smiled softly at them. "Welcome back. You three performed admirably," 𝗓𝗓𝗏 said as Momo knelt by Izuku. She didn't much care to speak at the moment. Thanks, father, but what about Izuku? 𝗓𝗏 asked sadly. Momo sniffled as she held his corpse. 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 nodded at that. Simple. Everything you all went through lasted mere moments to the rest of us. That world exists in a separate plane of time within the universe itself. Meaning I can do this. No sooner had he finished speaking, did his arm glow blue once more, and he placed his hand on Izuku's head. The light sparked through Izuku's body, energizing him once more before he began to glow brilliantly. As the light died down, Izuku stood tall once more as Momo and 𝗓𝗏 tackled the boy in a hug. The boy was shocked to see 𝗓𝗏 alive and well. Confused about everything, 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 explained what happened after he was struck down by King 𝗏𝗏𝗏, as well as how it had only been a few minutes since they left for that world. So what happens now, 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘? Izuku asked after everything was said and done. 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 smirked before looking towards Momo. As agreed, I now will gift human Momo her own powers much as I have gifted to you, human Izuku. Combined with my daughter's own power and the prior gifts towards the 𝗧𝗏𝗏 members, and you all have become one of if not the most powerful groups to ever exist. You all are mighty in your own ways, but only fighting together can you hope to be a match for 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏, his brood, and the 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 for a time before they can be wielded by her. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 said as one hand glowed red and the other golden. By placing them in her shoulders, Momo felt incredible energy coursing through her body. She grunted in pain from the transference of power, and once it was finished, she was sweating and a bit surprised she was still alive. Given the insane level of powers forced into her, she would have thought she was burning alive. After catching her breath and standing to her full height once more, she could tell internally something had been changed but not what. Izuku and 𝗔𝗫𝗏 both asked if she was all right. Momo smiled and nodded. Phew. That hurt, but I'm okay. I don't know what you did, 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟, but I can feel the various powers within. Like if they're seeds awaiting to sprout and bloom. She said with a bright smile. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 nodded at that. It should take roughly a day or two for the first power to blossom within you, human Momo. I believe the various powers I have gifted you should put you on par with 𝗔𝗫𝗏. Your powers aren't the same as her own, but still given time to acquire them all, you and 𝗔𝗫𝗏 shall be equals. Human Melissa may be stronger than you both given her magic and one for all. For now, it remains to be seen. But the four of you are vastly stronger than the rest. So each of you needs to help the others grow stronger. Spoke the massive godly being as he smiled, seeing the potential Izuku as well as the 𝗧𝗏𝗏 have. Before we return to Earth, should Father rid the memories of the kills you two had to do? 𝗔𝗫𝗏 asked. Momo and Izuku looked to one another and knew it was best to remove them as it would darken their sleep. The duo nodded as they had no longing to remember ending as many lives as they had during their ordeal. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 understood and tapped each of the center of their foreheads. From the action, a dark wisp of energy was pulled from their minds. By the end of it, both could recall everything of the events except the kills. Then he took the dark memories and crushed them within his hands. With that, the trio stood together and bid farewell to 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 before he warped them back to the home in UA. Things may get harder from here. I do hope, however, that the three of you can help the rest of the HRM grow exponentially stronger in the coming days. It's the only way to stop the threat of Exodus and the Epochians once and for all. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟 said before returning to his seat once more. Eyes ever watching the world for signs of Exodus returning. 'Tis extremely surprising that anyone ever read or voted for my insane ramblings. Just like with 𝗏𝗏𝗏 causes me to gain a 𝗧𝗏𝗏, this is an alternate version one-shot for Izuku and 1A girls. From learning his quirk to his past. I know I have not yet returned to the story of the trio returning to Earth. Though I will do so after this chapter. Now enough rambling of wordy words and talky thingamajigs. Let it rain. Izuku woke up with a start as his door slammed open. He looked to see a furious Ochako Uraraka stalking a bloody Katsuki Bakugo with the 5 other girls of 1A keeping the rest of the boys at bay. Deku get pink cheeks off of me, man. Pleaded the mutt. Not understanding what was going on, he got up from the bed. Don't you dare call him that again, Kuntsuki. I don't understand why this school views you as a hero when you've spent your entire life before UA as AF villain. Growled the irate physics buster. Izuku froze at that as he eyed the various people. The furious girls. The scared boys. Finally, the broken mutt of 1A. Thinking fast, he used Black Whip to capture both Izuku and Katsuki, holding them apart. What in the blue hell is going on here? He demanded as he looked between the pair. Izuku growled and struggled as Katsuki whimpered. Before he could ask again, Kyoka spoke up. We know everything, Green. The truth between you and the mutt. Her frigid tone shook him. What? He asked as he flinched. Momo chose this to be when she intervened and pulled a disc from her pocket. Midoriya-kun, we found this on the vanity in my room as we had our monthly sleepover. It showed everything that's happened between you and this villainous trash. I truly do mean everything. After we watched it, we began to make our way here to talk with you, but before we could, the howler monkey ran his mouth about you and smirked at us, leading to Izuku beating him severely and throwing him through your door. We need to let the school and police know what happened here and arrest this sick bastard, she said in a tone that made every boy's blood run cold. The boys were about to speak when the scent of death filled the air, choking the 1A boys as Izuku's eyes turned to them outside of the room. Leave us. No. He demanded, and the boys flinched before running in fear. He looked to Izuku before speaking. If I let you go, will you promise not to begin attacking Katsuki? That made all the girls and Katsuki gasp. They never expected him to use his given name instead of the nickname he always called him. Why Izuku? Izuku said nervously. Not a second later, Black Whip canceled its hold on her. Before we speak, show me this video. Izuku said quietly. Momo nodded, and she put the disc in the player Izuku had. His eyes opened wide as he watched a few minutes of the footage. He stopped it before turning to the girls. Does it show the sludge villain incident? He asked, and so you croaked a yes. How is this possible? No one was even there for any of this stuff. He said before a new voice joined the conversation. Well, that's where you're both right and wrong, Izuku Midoriya. While not physically there, I watched from a different dimension. Came a voice from Izuku's bed. All eyes snapped to see a small blonde-haired, blue-eyed man. Who the FF are you? Asked Katsuki as the man stood up. He smiled as he stepped towards the group before snapping his fingers. In a flash, everyone was transported to a large auditorium. The man smiled as the 1A girls, Izuku, and Katsuki looked around in shock. You could call me a concerned third party. But Izuku, you and the 1A girls can call me Liam. The man said as he snapped his fingers, materializing a few couches and tables. He took a seat and motioned for the others to sit. The students looked to each other before Liam spoke once more. It's natural to have suspicion for me. After all, to you, I'm a complete stranger. I know each of you and created this disc. However, the only one I wish to harm at any time is the Howling Mutt. I mean no harm to you, Izuku, or you girls of 1A. Miss Jiro, if you will listen to me as I speak. I am not here to hurt anyone but help you 7 and oust the villain Katsuki Bakugo. Kyoka was wide-eyed as she stammered out. He's telling the truth. Surprised at the honesty of the newcomer. The students looked to each other and nodded as they took seats, with Izuku on one side of Liam and Momo on the other. Thank you. Now I'm sure you all have a litany of queries for me. However, before we start, I should formally introduce myself. I am Liam, a deity-level being. I have a vast array of powers that give me essentially free control of everything in this universe. In my duties as protector of the universe, I came across you 8. 7 destined to become the most legendary of heroes. 1 to be the most despicable of villains. In order to prevent the destruction of millions, I have seen fit to intervene. I used my powers to show the 6 girls everything you both lived through prior to UA. Momo Yaoyorozu, you're on the right path, but no, I am not doing this simply due to the feelings of you all. There's more to it than that. He said as he materialized food and drinks for everyone. Izuku looked to the guy as he drank a soda and some pizza. The kids slowly began to grab food and drink as they eyed the mysterious stranger after Kyoka again confirmed his truth. I know you'd not expect one such as I to be a deity-class being, right? Liam asked, making Izuku flinch. Yeah, I'm a mind reader. You're wondering why I took an interest in you to begin with, correct? Izuku nodded as he grabbed an energy drink and opened it. Liam smiled softly before snapping his fingers, making Izuku freeze and nearly spit out his drink. That's why I was so interested in you. Our pasts are very similar. We each even gained tremendous power after walking through literal hell. One the powers of a god, the other a legacy quirk that has been passed down for an incredible amount of time. You, 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘, are the closest to having matched me in both talent and hellish life. Liam said as Izuku's mind was filled with the deity's life. The hell was so similar to his own. Izuku looked to the deity and nodded as he caught his breath. After they each ate, they sat with Liam, who was smiling silently. Why did I do all of this, you may all be thinking, right? Liam asked, making everyone flinch for a second. They all nodded with Katsuki sweating hard. To bring the 7 of you together and to punish the mutt. He said, making the 1A girls and Izuku blush hard as Katsuki whimpered. What? The 7 asked loud and nervous. The 7 of you all are crushing. Izuku crushes for each of you, and each of you crush for him as well. Ain't no way these beaches would crush for anyone but Katsuki tried to say before he was yanked before Liam. I don't think I gave you permission to speak beach. No one would crush for you. Hell, not even your boyfriend really loves you. To Kirishima, you're just an easy lay and BLWJB machine. Do not speak again until I say so. Nod if you understand. Liam demanded in a freezing tone that shook all 8 teens. Katsuki nodded vigorously as Liam launched him into a wall before caging him next to a couch. The 8 shivered at his display of power and the devilishly strong aura that surrounded Liam. They have seen almost everything of your past prior to joining you, even the manifesting of your quirk, he said as he smiled. The 8 nodded, and they looked to one another. With Izuku looking the most nervous. Liam smirked as he snapped his fingers to create a hologram with the video of all the fights Izuku had been through, as well as every time he saved them. The girls blushed as they fidgeted. You have been kind with them, listened to them, inspired them, and never took advantage of or leered at them. They took your advice and it made them all much stronger. You protected them from Mineta and Kaminari when they do their perverted antics. You restored their confidence and will to be a hero. You, 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘, are the truest form of hero that's ever existed in this world. He said as everyone saw all their own interactions between them. Izuku blushed hard as he watched the ways he's interacted with the 6 1A girls. How much they too blushed and got nervous around him. Especially after watching all his ungodly powers to save Koda and Eri. To stop the Lav and PLF. His worries and self-doubt. You know, Midoriya-kun, it's odd how much you help others find confidence and will. Yet you never believe in yourself. We believe you are the next #1 hero and no one can make us doubt that. You're kind, strong, humble, loyal, helpful to all, and care more for saving lives than just beating villains. You're charming and accidentally flirt with us when you don't mean to. You're handsome and incredibly intelligent. It's no wonder we each fell for you now that I say it out loud. Momo said with a blush and smile. Izuku was surprised by her words as well as Liam's. Especially when the 5 other girls of 1A all began nodding vigorously, agreeing with Momo's words. Are really? Izuku asked in shock. Liam smirked and snapped his fingers once more, showing the days long since past of the 7-year-old Izuku running fearfully through the woods, with popping sounds and screams too familiar to him. Wait, this is... Both he and Momo began as the memories filled their minds, confusing the 6 others as Liam spoke. This is the moment that inspired Momo Yaoyorozu to become a heroine. A moment only you remembered, holy Izuku. A moment I purposefully left out of the disc. Momo was stunned as the camera panned out, showing the young Izuku burst out of the bushes to see Katsuki and his 2 minions beating a young Momo as the inferiority complex having bragged about his power. Get away from her, Kaken. roared little Izuku as he ran between the four and stood protectively before a young 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 who was covered in burns and bruises. She shivered in pain and fear as she watched the boy turn his head and smile shakily to try reassuring her. "Or what, you little quirkless freak?" Izuku turned to face the mutt and raised his fist. "I may not have a quirk, Kakin, but at least I'm not a villain like you're acting. No hero beats up a girl. Especially one who did nothing wrong," growled the boy who hardened his glare so much the three bullies flinched. The 1A girls watched in awe as Izuku stood defying his former best friend, the pleasure of seeing him afraid. Little Momo was in awe at the boy's defense of her and the power his voice seemed to carry within. To the audience's surprise, they heard her thoughts. "Wait, he's quirkless. What does that even mean? Like he doesn't have a quirk. But he's still willing to protect me even knowing that. That's incredible," she thought with a smile. Before Izuku's left arm lowered and motioned almost imperceptibly for her to run. She nodded as she slowly stood, and just before she rushed behind a tree, the mutt barked out. "I'm no villain. I'm a hero. One stronger than even all might. How dare you say that about me, you stupid quirkless freak? I'll show you that you're just a useless, worthless waste that's not even human." As he rushed to Izuku, who rushed forward and for the first time in his life fought. Momo had taken the chance and raced into the trees. Hiding, she turned to watch the boy get hit with explosions and the fists of the two other boys, yet he didn't even react to the painful blows. Momo was shocked as instead of screaming or flinching, the young boy began to throw punches and kicks, sending the two weaker bullies flying. Only Katsuki could handle the incredible blows Izuku dished out. But even so, he was obviously hurting and surprised by the raw strength of Izuku. For 5 minutes, the two boys fought with Izuku slowly succumbing to the explosions of Katsuki. By the end, he was covered in even more burns and bruises than Momo, but Katsuki too was wounded from the 5-minute brawl and breathing heavy. After leaving Izuku lying in the clearing, the three bullies left to treat their wounds. With Momo slowly coming out of hiding. "I'm sorry," she cried out as she ran to his side. Only to her shock, Izuku sat up and smiled. She froze a few feet from him. "And no worries. It was actually a lesser beating than normal. But are you okay?" he asked with a genuine smile that made the young heiress blush. "I'm fine, but are you?" she asked timidly. Izuku smiled and stood up. "Oh yeah. Usually, they beat me worse than this multiple times a day," he said with a small shrug. Momo was stunned by the knowledge the boy just revealed. She eyed his horrible wounds and asked quietly, "Are you really quirkless?" She had to know because it is insane to see someone beaten that viciously and not ever react to the obvious pains. Izuku nodded slowly. "Why, yes I am," he said, making her eyes open wide. "That's amazing," she shouted, surprising the boy. She blushed hard as she looked to the boy. "Well, you ran in and defended me. Knowing you would get beat up. Knowing all you had to fight with was your bare hands. Yet still, you stood defending me, unwilling to let them beat me up," she said with a small blush. Izuku nodded slowly, stunned by the girl's words and excited answer. "But why do all that for me?" she asked quietly with a worried look to her face. Izuku blinked and shrugged. "Because you needed help and didn't deserve to get attacked. I couldn't stand by when you needed help and do nothing," was all he said, surprising the girl. She blinked before shaking her head. "Where are my manners? I'm a 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘. Thank you for helping me." She was shocked at seeing him not reacting to her name, as just about everyone in Japan had known the 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 family. "Oh, why you're welcome. I'm Izuku Midoriya," he said with a shaky smile. Momo smiled as well before Izuku motioned to the exit of the forest. "We should head out and get some bandages and stuff for your injuries." Momo nodded as she and Izuku began to limp their way out of the forest. Only after they had exited and were met by Akane 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 and her driver did the boy learn who it was he just fought to defend. The wealthy mother had rushed to little Momo and heard the duo explain the situation. She was angered that 3 brats would attack her daughter for such a pathetic reason as Momo simply saying the leader's quirk wasn't the best. She ushered the two to the limo and pulled out a first aid kit, bandaging the duo's wounds as she contemplated taking legal action against the bullies' families. She was surprised at how the little boy who defended her daughter was quirkless yet still fought 3 boys by himself to keep Momo safe. "I think I know what to do," she thought with a proud smile as she listened to the two talk. The 6 girls tilted their head hearing that thought from Akane and were confused by it before the hologram dissipated. "How could I have forgotten all that?" Momo asked with a pout from having fully remembered the event. "He was the boy who saved me and gave me the inspiration to be a hero that helps wherever and whoever she can." Before turning to Liam and Izuku, "I'm sorry I didn't remember that it was you who saved me, Midoriya-kun. Due to that, I was inspired to be a hero, yet I forgot all about you. I'm terribly sorry," she said with a bow. Izuku blushed and flared his arms while mumbling about it being okay. After the 2 teens calmed down, Momo looked to Liam. "What did mother mean?" she asked the protector of the universe. Liam smirked as Izuku blushed. "She made a deal with 𝗏𝗏 Midoriya. If little Izuku managed to make it into UA, she would sponsor him. She helped bring down Aldera schools after learning all about Izuku after the first day of classes. As well, she had a bank account opened up to repay him for his savings of you. She had learned of Izuku's mistreatment at the hands of the school staff and students. She spearheaded the arrests and legal actions against them. But in accordance with Izuku's wishes, she made sure everyone kept his name out of it so as not to worry 𝗏𝗏 Midoriya." The girls and Katsuki were stunned by that knowledge. Before the mutt shivered in fear. "What does that mean?" he trailed off as he asked fearfully. Liam grinned maliciously. "That the richest and most powerful family in all of Japan knows about your quirkiest views and villainous deeds. They, along with Nizu, have all the evidence to get you a life sentence in Tartarus. So if I were you, mutt, I'd start begging for mercy from Izuku and the rest. Not that any of them will forgive you. Hell, even Izuku, who is the most forgiving person in your world, refuses to truly forgive you for your crimes against him." The being smiled more as the mutt began to shake within his cage. "Each of you fell for Izuku at different points in time and for different reasons. But every one of you felt it would be unfair to the others if you acted upon your feelings. At the same time, Izuku's own feelings developed for each of you, but he felt he was not good enough to ever be with any of you. In his mind, he's still the quirkless Deku of Muzutafu, and if he was with any of you, he'd only bring pain and mistreatment to whoever he was with," he said as he showed each of the 7 their entire history with one another and even their thoughts during those times. As Katsuki shivered with the knowledge of just how screwed he would be if Izuku chose to use that evidence against him. "So now it's time to show you a world where none of you act upon your feelings," Liam said with sorrow in his voice. He snapped his fingers once more, and a hologram appeared showing a destroyed city with several figures. One was Tamura Shigaraki, who gloated as the other figure a kneeling teary-eyed Izuku Midoriya surrounded by the LAV, AFO, and the corpses of the entirety of 1A and the UA staff. "How tragic, little Midoriya. You got them all killed. Some great hero you turned out to be. All your promises to protect them were just lies. You could do nothing but watch in tears as all your classmates and the staff of UA. Even those 2 brats died while you did nothing to stop it," bragged the insane Shigaraki as the scene showed a weeping Izuku with Kora Izumi and Eri's corpses in his arms. The 7 watched on in tears, not understanding what was happening. While Katsuki had his hearing cancelled with a warning from Liam in his mind to be silent and watch. The on-screen Izuku slowly stood up after placing the children's bodies on the pavement. "I didn't stand by out of choice. It took your BSTRD of MSTR and all your allies to hold me back. But I'm done restraining my power. Congratulations, Tenko. You finally broke me. Something not even this entire world and its constant hells managed to do." With his face coming into view, tears falling and a psychotic smile adorning his face. In the blink of an eye, he began to slowly slaughter every member of the League of Villains before turning his wrath onto Tamura Shigaraki. They all watched on in horror as he massacred them all and began to slowly dismantle Tamura. "I now realize how wrong All Might was to hold back this power. One for all is meant to end lives, so end them all I shall. All villains must die. All villainous heroes must die. I will kill every last one of you to ensure this hellish night never again occurs because I held back. Bellowed Izuku as he tore the villain limb from limb covered in Tamura's BLD. In a matter of seconds he had turned the tide of battle into his favor, but to their horror, he spent hours torturing the villain before ending his life. Standing tall while covered in BLD and viscera, he began to cackle wildly as the hologram disappeared. "Dear God," Momo said as the girls wept, and Izuku was in shock. Liam stood up and stretched after returning hearing to Katsuki. "This is the future if you continue to face the world all alone and hide behind your fears of the possibilities, Izuku. Without their aid to your mind and heart, you will slowly be whittled down from the constant attacks of the love. You need to overcome your fear, Izuku. Not just for your sake but for the sake of both this world and the lives of those you love. It's why I have intervened for the first time since I gained my powers," Liam said as he turned to face Izuku. The girls took notice of the powerful Liam who, like Izuku, was short but ungodly powerful. He and Izuku stood before one another. "While I understand why you hide behind such fears and the warnings of others, you and the 6-1A girls are needed to prevent this hell. As well, Katsuki is finally to face punishment for all his crimes. If he is left free, this world is in danger of creating a villain of unmatched power. You need to overcome your fears, or that future is doomed to come true," he warned, making everyone's spines shiver. The seven looked to one another, and the girls began to converse amongst them. Izuku was worrying and thinking about all the events that have transpired since he was woken up. "You do know they will all gladly accept you, don't you, Izuku?" Liam asked quietly as she stood beside Izuku. The green-haired boy nodded as he kept thinking. "Why is it Katsuki must face punishment?" he asked, making Liam sigh sadly. "Because in that future, he betrayed UA after you bested him all year long. To make you suffer, he gave the Lav all necessary info to ambush the class and staff as well as the little children. He needs to finally be forced to come to grips with how he will never be a hero. Only a quirkist villain." Izuku sighed, understanding the godly being's words. "I know I should have told people the truth, but I really thought that I could handle things. I thought if I showed I was his equal, he would start to change." But he trailed off as Liam nodded. "But it turned out he would never change for the better, correct?" the being asked, and Izuku nodded with a sigh. The girls all finally nodded with Momo speaking up. "I, Izuku. We talked things out and came to a conclusion," the heiress said. Izuku quirked a brow in confusion as Liam chuckled. "Would you be willing to date us?" she asked with a bit more volume than normal. Breaking the mighty green teen. What? Izuku squeaked out as Momo and the girls blushed and fidgeted. Well. We couldn't decide on just one of us. Especially because we know why you'd feel bad if you chose just one. So we want to be your 𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘, she exclaimed as she was crimson head to toe. "Izuku, the 𝗧𝗓𝗓 has said F you and self-imploded." Liam cackled as Izuku was stunned, and his mind went blank before passing out. "Gotta say I knew that was gonna happen, but it's still hilarious as F." As the 6 girls panicked and rushed to the unconscious ninth wielder. Before he turned to face Katsuki. "When he wakes up, you will apologize for everything you ever did to him. You will be punished by me for all your crimes as well as face their punishments as well. Is that clear?" Liam asked with a look that told the Pomeranian the only accepted answer would be yes. Katsuki shook from fear and nodded. After a few minutes passed, Izuku regained consciousness and looked to the worried girls. "Thank God it was just a dream," he groaned out as he sat up. "What was a dream, Izuku?" Momo asked, making Izuku realize she had been using her lap as a pillow for him. "You all wanting to share me," he stammered out. The girls all giggled before Jiro spoke up. "Sorry, Greenie, but that was real," she said with a smirk, making him freeze up. Wait, what?" was all he could ask as the girls fidgeted. Well. We knew we couldn't fight over you that'd hurt you. As well you'd feel guilty if you dated just one of us." You have always been there for us, and we all grew to love you. So instead of getting J jealous, we want to any your HR. Tage that way none of us get H hurt. Ochako explained as the girls nodded. Izuku was floored as Liam smirked. But why am me? Izuku asked, confused by their decision. Momo spoke first. You are our ideal of what true heroism is, Izuku. You have saved our lives, listened to our worries, helped us find confidence, and train our quirks to surpass the limits we thought we had. You were a shoulder to cry on and defended us when needed. To be honest, we would never have chosen anyone but you. None of our classmates have truly cared about our mental well-being and our troubles in classes. You tutor us all, even me, when we study, all because you want us to be the best heroines we can be. You've risked your life against insane villains to save others, not for fame or riches but simply because it's the right thing to do. Yes, you hid things, but given the horrors of your life, that's understandable. Seriously, you are like the most perfect guy to ever live. Izuku was crimson red from the explanation before each girl began to explain how and why they fell for the boy. From being saved by him to training them and studying with them. Helping them with their hobbies outside of class and teaching them new abilities with their quirks. Always being kind and respectful. Never taking advantage of them or ogling them as if they were pieces of meat. The times he fought for them. The times he held them as they cried and gently spoke to help calm them. Throwing down with the mutt, Pikachu, and walking 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗘 when they'd attack, disrespect, or even try to grope them or see them naked. Only after they finished their explanation did Izuku swallow hard. He knew they each spoke truth. As Liam himself told him so. I never did that to try to impress you all or be your boyfriend. I did it to help. I won't lie and say I didn't feel the same. I hid my adoration, but I knew I had crushed for each of you. But I felt I could and never be with you all. As if it would bring you all shame to be with me. Izuku said with a sigh and 1,000-yard stare that worries the girls. But even so I can't deny my feelings. He said as he felt steam shoot from his ears and nostrils. He breathed heavily before looking to them each. If you are really OKW with this, I am T2. Making each girl's eyes go wide before they gang tackled him and took turns kissing him as Katsuki grumbled. After 30 minutes, the makeout session ended, and the 7 stood facing the mutt. Now for you. We have a plan. Instead of sending you to prison, you get to become their servant, and every night, you get chained up and pegged by them. All while dressed as a Nico maid. Step out of line and we'll make you SCK and ride every male in UA, as well as be beaten into the ground bed or being forced to be May Hatsum's test dummy for all her inventions. Liam, can you get these people to also join in the pegging of the mutt? Izuku asked, handing him a note with several names on it that made Liam grin maliciously. Oh, definitely. So is it time for my punishments? The godly being asked as all 7 smirked, and Katsuki yelped in fear. Liam stepped to the caged mutt. His hands glowed with incredible power. It's time for you to lose what you believe makes you the best. For all the crimes you've committed against Izuku and any you deemed weak, you are undeserving of your minuscule power. For the rest of your days, you will no longer have a quirk. You will never be able to speak with anyone in your usual tone. I will lock away your ability to speak of the 7 to anyone. This is the punishment you have earned. He said before snatching the boy by the throat. Katsuki screamed and was thrashing in pain as the 7 watched on. Izuku sighed, knowing Liam was right in his summation of the mutt. When you return to your world, your spot in 1A will be replaced by Hitoshi Shinso. You will be removed from being a student in UA and only serve as the 7's personal servant. Your path to power is null and void, mutt. If you even think of changing sides and attempt to inform the law, I will enforce harsher penalties. You will watch as Izuku goes on to become the greatest hero of this world. Liam said with a powerful, forceful voice that told them all that he truly would fulfill his promise. Soon after he released the now unconscious boy, Liam returned his gaze to Izuku. You are special, Izuku. I can't wait to see how far you will go in this world. I have shown evidence to the staff of UA, and they, too, have agreed to these punishments. But before you go, I have one last gift for you. Liam said as he held his hand out to shake Izuku's. Izuku shrugged and grasped the deity's hand only for brilliant jade light to envelop Izuku's entire being momentarily. After it left, the boy noticed his hand was now free of the scars he gained from his battle with Shoto. What? He gasped out. Liam smirked. I healed all your scars and wounds. It also gave a special power that merged with OFA. This way, you will be better able to withstand its power. Izuku was in awe as he removed his shirt and all his scars, deformed bone breaks, and contusions had vanished. He had teared up as he looked to the godly being who smiled softly and nodded as he warped them back to you. I shall watch over you 7. If need be, we will meet again, but for now, journey forth and grow to be the power that protects this world. Be the heroes this world can depend on and change society for the better. The HRM and Izuku heard in their minds. Before, they were once more in Izuku's room. But guess we can't say no. Feel like a sleepover, Izuku-chan? Momo asked with a wink as they tossed Katsuki out of the room. Izuku gulped as the girls began to holy, he said as he hardened in his shorts. Before long, loud moans and the sounds of flesh slapping flesh were heard as Namuri chuckled and dragged the unconscious Katsuki away. Shota groaned as Nizu smirked. They deserve it. Especially Midoriya. The world soon learned of their 7 protectors, and within a few years' time the 7 stood at the top of the world rankings. Defo and his love had been bested and imprisoned. The MLA were decimated by Izuku's forces, and Rikiya Yatsubashi, Eri Destro, fell in battle from his own anger. Little Eri became the first daughter of Izuku and the HRM before she joined UA and earned her pro license to be a healing hero. The heroine guiding light. Soon, Izuku would become the heroics teacher as Momo replaced Nizu as principal of UA. The 6 each had children with Izuku, and all were intelligent, and while some had incredibly powerful quirks, Momo's daughter Mika and Kyoka's daughter Asa were both quirkless. But each were treated as equals with their siblings, and Liam returned occasionally to spend time with the large Midoriya family. As well, he made a perfect copy of OFA, and both Mika and Asa were now the 10th wielders of one for all that had been modified to grow with them but never let them use more power than their bodies could muster. Thank you all for the reads and the votes. I may not be a good writer, but I definitely appreciate all your compliments, reads, and votes. I know I was meant to return to Earth and the HRM, but I felt compelled to show my appreciation for everything. Sorry if this chapter wasn't as good as the rest, but I wanted to give a special after all of the votes and reads. I am amazed so many of you guys enjoy my writings, and if you do, I truly thank you. I promise the next chapter will be their return to Earth and UA. I may not show Momo's new power, or I may. Not sure as I write it all while making it up. Seriously, I never plan a 𝗧𝗘 out, I just make it up as I go after a 5-minute premise with little to no planning involved. I hope you enjoyed this chapter, and if you do, thanks. Anyway, I got a reverse 𝗔𝗫𝗏𝗏 to get to 𝗧𝗏 bounce. Peace yo. Ha holy CRP. I actually thought my friends were joking when they told me this story has had 1,000 votes. Like, legit half of it is just rambling, incoherent babble of a mind bereft of sanity. The other half is just spitballing and see what happens. On a serious note, I thank all of you who have read this story and deemed it fit to vote for it. I honestly never expected 10 votes, let alone 1,000. I'm sorry I haven't been updating much lately, but I have been so busy that I haven't had the time to write the way I had before. This was my very first fanfic, and yet so many had seemed to enjoy it. I know I'm nowhere near the best that I can be either as an author or as an idea man, but I am honored that you all have enjoyed this. It's actually helped me a lot. Most can see the progression I've made as they've read the story. It helps that I don't fear failure, but even so, it truly makes me appreciative of the kind comments, the votes, and the reads. I've never been one to ask for likes or reads or even follows, but I definitely appreciate those who see fit to do as such. I know not where I will go with any of my stories. Even as I write the chapters, I have no plan. I simply just grasp at any ideas that I can come up with, and if they're either deep, dark, or funny as fudge monkeys, I write it down. I'm not as descriptive as others, nor am a great battle writer, but I enjoy the stories I have written and plan to continue writing. As soon as I get time to devote to writing, I definitely will. Hee besides the 500-foot dragon in my eye gets a bit finicky as if I don't write enough words within a set PRD. Though long as he doesn't piece off the werewolf in my spleen, I will not risk death. He also, for the love of God, nobody tell that to narrator San. That is goddamn terrifying. Seriously, dude's always feeding my butt to massive dragons, mass murderers, and once to 100 minetas. Anyway, thank you again for everything, and as soon as I get enough free time to work on this and/or other stories, I will. Peace out, and always remember to have the best pull-out game in town. Children are evil. I swear this one was leading a cult to SpongeBob, and half my city is now pissed at me.